3, 2, 1.
Hello, my fellow cigar lovers and addicts. Welcome to Fogies Freaky Friday show. Glad that you guys could all be here with me tonight. Glad that I'm here. Man, we just had a hell of a storm roll through Kansas City. Massive. Had a tornado run through Belton, which is just a little south of here. Had some massive winds. They had some reported 80-mile-an-hour winds in some spots, and I thought for sure Mike was going to be able to lose power and stuff. So I left some comments just to let you guys know that, we were possibly going to have to go turn on the Jenny and get back to going and everything. But how's everybody doing tonight? It's Friday. Man, I needed this so bad. It's been the last 2 weeks have just been hell on me. Well, you've seen from my Fogey Be Traveling video that I actually got to go down and meet Mr. Cash and hang out with him at a really cool cigar bar, and picked up a bunch of opuses. I was really happy about that. Got some more of the 25th anniversary El Tributo Churchills, and got some of the El Trace Magistral 13s, and actually smoked one of those down there when I was there, and just absolutely delicious cigar. Hit me up in the comments, just kind of let me know who all's here, check in, let me know what you guys are smoking, what you guys are drinking. So tonight I'm starting off with the Opus X Oxo Oscuro. Very, very good cigar. I was lucky enough to get about 10 of these. Absolutely delicious. And I'm sipping on a Mayorga Cubano dark roast coffee. Got that in my little ember mug. It's a great little mug, man. They're pretty pricey, but man, this thing it charges up, and it's got a battery built into it, and it keeps your coffee at a consistent temperature for quite some time. And man, I love that thing. You get running around in the morning trying to get ready, trying to do stuff, and just kind of sipping on your coffee here and there and coming back to it. And regular cup, it's almost always cold. And hey, what's up, Donuts? How you been doing, man? Glad you come tonight. But yeah, I'm wore out, man. I have just been working like a dog. Last week I had to go down to Springfield and do a bunch of stuff, and man, I put 72 hours in last week. And that includes driving 3 hours down to Springfield and driving 3 hours back on Saturday. I didn't get back till like 8 o'clock on a Saturday night, and man, it was hell. And then this week, I probably put in almost 50 hours, and today was actually my day off, but I kept getting calls from contractors and kept getting calls from people and painters and this, that, and another, and just couldn't even. So I finally just ended up shutting my phone off. I was like, fuck it, man. I ain't working today. You all leave me alone, So anyway, I want to chop this thing and light it up. Let me know what you guys are smoking tonight. I love these Opus, man. Been on an Opus kick lately. I got a shit ton of them, and I just really gotta start smoking some of them because my Opus humidor is really getting kind of full. get this foot toasted up here a little bit. Learned something interesting. I was watching the Perdomo podcast, and he was talking about how, to toast the foot of the cigar, basically kind of put a little bit of heat on it, get it smoking just a little bit, and just kind of let that binder and wrapper kind of melt together before you light up the cigar. And started trying that, and I've been having a lot better lights because of it. Hey, Vron, what is going on, man? So glad you could make it. Gonna have some fun tonight. Just chill out and do some smoking, do some bullshitting. I got a good show planned for tonight. Man, that is so good. So, what's everybody smoking tonight? Oh, you're on call. I got you. Yeah, I remember those days, man, when I was working for the city of Blue Springs. We were only supposed to be on call like once every 6 weeks for a week straight. Get called out in the middle of the night to, go fix water main breaks or do something. And, hell, sometimes it was freezing cold, get called in at like 2 o'clock in the morning to go fix a break or go take care of a sewer lift station that had shut down and was getting ready to overflow. But so I was on some of my favorite sellers, and I really been getting into the Definition brand of cigars, man. I've been smoking a lot of those Neos. I've been smoking a bunch of the Noir Connecticut's and the Noir Cameroons. And they got this other one it's called the Five Años, and it's a newer release. I think I had never seen it before, but I was able to get a 5-pack of those, and they just came earlier tonight. I probably would have smoked one of those had I got them in time. But I think that I'll leave a Master's Blend 3 right on. That's a good cigar, man. In fact, Marvin from Rise and Grind sent me my first one of those, and it's the first time I've ever had one. That's a really delicious stick, man. Oh yeah, time to relax, time to chill. I've been so busy, and then I had a bunch of honeydew shit to do this week. Uh, some of my deck railing on my upper deck was just rotten and falling off, and it's like 12 feet up in the air, and I was afraid somebody was going to lean on that and fall through the damn deck, so I had to rebuild a bunch of railing and had to regrade my front yard and put some seed and straw down. Got that done this week for Mama, so Mama's happy. But just between work and all that stuff, man, and I haven't really had much time to smoke any cigars this week, so I've really been looking forward to coming here and hanging out with you guys and just having some fun tonight. Oh, nice. I have not had that stick, man. Have you smoked it before? Is it pretty good? Oh man. Well, so I kind of want to just jump in the show. I've got a bunch of topics that I wanted to talk about tonight, and kind of give you a little bit of history of how I got into cigars and smoking cigars, and um, so basically, I just kind of I traded one addiction for another. So I used to be a avid vinyl collector, man. I had a massive vinyl collection that I had been collecting ever since I was a kid. In fact, my first record that I ever bought back in the '70s, my grandmother bought it for me at Kmart on Nolan Road and 40 Highway in Independence, Missouri, and it was a 45, and it was fucking Glenn Campbell's Rhinestone Cowboy. Yeah, that was a big hit back then, and I love that record and just played it to death. It just was trash by the time I got through with it. But I put together a bunch of records and really got into it heavy because I got into my hi-fi Jedi stuff and was like fixing old stereos and stuff, and just kind of started building up my system and collecting more records and collecting more records. And uh, in fact, I had let me pull this up real quick. So like my cigar room that I have now, the Death Star, used to be my record room. And I started out, first stereo I ever rebuilt um, was this old Sansui G87 DB, 160 watts DC power, beautiful, beautiful receiver. Built that thing, and it just sounded absolutely amazing. And I had it paired with a Sansui 1972 Sansui 4050 with a Denon cartridge on it, and man, that thing rocked. It was really, really sweet system, and so I kind of put together this vinyl room, and so this is it. This is kind of a later picture. Let me see if I can find one a little earlier with the. There we go. Yeah, so I had the Sansui, and I had the old turntable, and then I bought a new Project X1, and then these are the Infinity Quantum 3 speakers that would just blow your damn doors off, man. Those speakers were just insanely sweet. And then got rid of that system, and I built my Darth Vader system. It was a Arcam English made integrated amplifier and a CD transport and a Nakamichi cassette deck. And the cassette deck was cool because it would like to flip the tape instead of pulling the tape out and turning it over and do it. The tape deck would just come out and flip and go back in. It was a really, really sweet setup. And but yeah, so I had a lot of records, as you can see. There were just tons and tons of records, and a lot of really rare stuff, a lot of stuff that I had put together. And then I kind of was getting into the point where it was like, man, this hobby is killing me, because these records that I was wanting to buy and everything, um, they were so freaking expensive. And hey Ray, what's going on, buddy? Glad you could make it. How you still down camping, or have you gotten back yet, man? Ray just posted up some pictures today. They've been on a camping trip or something. Looks like they're having a blast, man, down in some caves and on a river and stuff and shit, man. Um, that's looks like you had a really, really good time. Yeah, man, I got to the point where it was just kind of like I, I had to strike when the iron was hot because people were just paying stupid money and they were wanting a lot of these records that I had, and I was doing these whatnot auctions, and I don't know if you know what um, I don't know what the deal was with the um, being able to sell them on there and doing live auctions, and just people just started asking me, well, what else you got? What else you got? And they were just getting in bidding wars and started paying stupid ass money for records. And so I was like, well, that's cool, man. I hope you enjoy your weekend, brother. It's, hopefully you got some good weather and everything's rolling good down there. But anyway, so I had this guy ask me, he's like, man, you got a lot of stuff that I really, really been looking for. And he's like, would you consider selling some of your records, And I thought, well, what are you looking for? And he's like, well, I'll take as much shit as you got. I mean, he's like, if you got a list, and of course there's a app called Discogs where you can catalog your whole collection, tells you everything, kind of tells you what they're worth and what people have been paying for them and that kind of thing. And so anyway, I sent him the list, and he won like half of it. And I'm like, damn, I don't know if I want to sell that much of it. And he was like, well, what's your I don't want to sell it price, And I'm like, well, let me do some thinking, and I'll get back with you, and we'll see, see what we're looking at, because I really don't want to sell them. So anyway, I came up with a price. He's like, all right, I'll take them. And he's like, well, how are we going to get them up here? And I was like, well, this was like a couple of weeks before I was getting ready to start my new job working for the city, and I had 2 weeks off before I had to go in there. And I said, well, I'll tell you what. I said, I'll load all these up. I said, they're all alphabetized. They're all, in protective sleeves. They're all ready to go. I mean, you can just start dumping them right into your collection. And I said, I'll load them up in boxes. And I said, I'll travel up. This guy was in Chicago. So I drove from Kansas City to Chicago, and I was like, I'll bring him to you, but you gotta put me up in a decent hotel, and you gotta take me and my wife out for a really nice dinner. So they did that. And I was like, well, okay, let's do it. So took him up there. He didn't even look through them, man. He just was like, he's seen them and seen how well protected and how well taken care of they all were and everything. Just flips me the cash. And then we went and stayed at a really nice hotel up there, and went out to this fancy freaking seafood restaurant on the river up there right through town. And had like some blue crab claws and some really good like East Coast and West Coast oyster samplers. And because I really like oysters, man. They were really good. Had a good time. Came back home, made some money, and then had another guy that owns a record shop here in Kansas City, who knows this guy, and he's like, hey, he's like, you want to sell, the rest of your records? Are you getting rid of them all? And I said, well, at this point, I probably should. And so I sent him the list of what I had left, and he's like, well, bring them by the shop. And I'm like, dude, there's a lot of them, man. I said, let me take some pictures of some of them or whatever. or I'll bring you a few of them just so you can kind of see, because I said they're all, near mint, and really good titles and really rare, like, 60s psychedelic music, and just, good, 80s hair band music, and, yeah, jazz, and just all kinds of shit. And so uh, he was like, well, I'll take them, And I was like, well, I hadn't even told you what I want for him yet. And he's like, I don't care. He's like, I know you'll be fair with me. You were fair with my buddy. And he's like, just bring them up and I'll cut you a check. So I was like, okay, let's do that. So we did. And I got rid of them. And I kind of got to figuring that, because a lot of those I bought them when they were brand new from record stores and shit, throughout Kansas City, and malls, and throughout the city, and throughout other places and stuff. And I got to figuring it up that I pretty much got all my money back, and I made about 14 grand off of those records. And comic books, man. I got a buddy of mine I'm going to see tomorrow who's really huge into comic books and stuff, man. I can't wait to look at some of the new stuff that he got at they had like the Comic-Con thing here not too long ago, and he got a bunch of new stuff. Ray, so I'm smoking the Opus Oxo Oscuro Robusto. Is my first one. Yeah, me too, man. I mean, I like bands like Kraftwerk, the guys that were like the pioneers of synthesizers and shit. And, some of the first people to ever start making electronic music, they were Germans. And just all kind of weird shit, and cool, like splatter vinyl records and glow in the dark records, and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, I sold that. Well, I had a bunch of cash, and I had a buddy of mine that invited me over to a party over at his house. He owns a big used car lot. It's like a buy here, pay here place that he grew from nothing into one of the biggest used car dealerships in the state. They do, well over $1 million worth of business every month. And went over to his house, and he's like, "You smoke cigars?" And I said, "Well, not really. I mean, I've had some backwoods and some, some dog turds and shit, but never really a fine cigar." Well, he pulled out a cigar and let me smoke it, and come to find out it was a Cuban Partagas Lusitania, big ass cigar. I sat there and smoked it with him, and I was like, "This is nice," And we bullshitted for a long time, and just had a really good time, and just chilled out. And I thought, man, this is something I think I need in my life, something that I really, really want to do. Yeah, no shit, Ray. I had a fuck ton of money, and my hobbies have always been expensive, man. I've been into just you fucking name it, fucking the record thing. I'm a Part 107 commercially licensed drone pilot, so I got really heavy into drones for a long time. Back in like 2015. Started building my own racing drones, collected watches, cameras. I grew up in cameras. My dad sold cameras for a living when I was growing up. So I started shooting like professional cameras, like they'd shoot models or whatever the fuck with. Bell and Hal Mamiya was a company that he worked for. And so I started shooting pro cameras when I was like 6 years old. In fact, we even had a damn dark room in our house. So I was, processing film and doing all that stuff at a young age. And so I've always had all these, expensive hobbies. And I thought, man, this is something that I think I could really enjoy. This is something, especially at my age, I need those times. I work so hard and just beat the shit out of my body, and it's just kind of like, what am I gonna do? I need to relax. I need to take some time, and these are just perfect for that. You just chunk out a block of time and just sit there and chill and enjoy a good smoke. I used to pair shit with a lot of really good, high end bourbons and shit and blah, blah, blah. And, like I said in one of my previous videos, I just kind of got to the point where I just decided I needed to quit drinking. But I do drink a lot of coffee, man. I love coffee. I'm a coffee snob. Make a lot of pour overs, make a lot of, espressos and Americanos, and I love all kinds of different coffees, and they pair really well. You find the right coffee to go with the right cigar, and and the shit goes pretty good. I really kind of dig uh, getting into this, and how it's just like I've slowly progressed through in just a little over a year and a half. Into smoking some of the finest cigars in the world. And I've had some Cubans. I've had, just a lot of, there's just so many good cigars out there, man. And, a lot of good brands. Um, yeah, it was donuts. It's just one of those things where it was just like, I knew that the market was just like, uh, I'm not ever going to have this opportunity to make this much money off of these again. And plus, with me getting into cigars, it was like, fuck, it's like kind of getting, I started smoking in the house a little bit, and, that ash was getting everywhere. And it's just such a pain in the ass to clean records and keep them, so pristine, when you're playing them on, a $2,000 record player with an $800 stylus on it and shit on a $15,000 stereo. It's like they got to be clean. I can't have none of them pops and all that shit. And some of the records that I was wanting to buy were like, I was paying like $300, $400, $500 for one record, and I was like, I'm just so fucking over that. I'm just done doing it, man. And so yeah, it was just a great opportunity, and I didn't have to spend a bunch of time with it. I've two buyers and they're all gone, and then I just had a fuck ton of cash, and banked some of it, and I bought some stocks and did some shit with some stuff, and it was really great to really start dumping money into this cigar thing. In fact, that's probably about probably about 6 months into smoking cigars is when I got the idea to come up with the channel. um, I'm actually getting ready to it's almost a year. Channel's been up for close to a year now, and I think I got one more month and I'll have been on here for a year, and I'm up to almost 325 subscribers. So thank you guys. Thank you guys for watching the channel and subscribing and enjoying my content, and sharing this ride with me and everything. Yeah, me too. Especially like uh, first thing in the morning. I don't do it every day because I just don't have the time sometimes, man. But I like to make me a nice Ethiopian Yurga chip, pour over, and smoke like a sober Mesa Brulee Blue, or a Espinosa Crema, or an Undercrown Shade, just some nice mellow Connecticut cigar, and just do it up. Lost my record collection to my brother. Just let it go. Yeah. You still got CDs. Yeah. I've got a few CDs too. Oh yeah. Yeah, I remember when CDs came out, and my brother bought a CD player and shit, and fuck, it was like $800 and this was like back in the '80s, man. And I looked at those discs and I was like, "What the fuck is this?" It's so weird. And but the sound, I was like, "Holy shit, that sounds good, man!" And he had a really good stereo, and but yeah, I've still got quite a bit of CDs and stuff that I don't know if I'll ever sell those. And they're coming back. Cassettes are coming back. 8 tracks. But man, most of the 8 tracks that you get nowadays, they just suck. I've played some on some 8 track players that I've fixed, and they usually end up just breaking, or they just sound like crap. But cassette tapes last pretty good, and cassettes are actually pretty good quality, really. Donut says, "That's awesome. I get that. I don't smoke in the house. Wife would kill me." Yeah. Uh, Creating outdoor spot at the house. We're right on. Well, that's cool. Yeah, I think Ray's getting ready to do something like that himself. Trying to get out of there. Hey, Ryan, welcome to the show, brother. Glad you could make it. We're just kind of getting started. Just been talking about how I kind of sold off my record collection and took a bunch of that money and started getting into buying cigars. You know, how's your week been? What are you smoking on tonight, man? Ray, you got a stogie? What are you smoking? You're probably sitting in a fucking comfy lawn chair next to a fire right now, I bet. But so doing that and having all that money, um, go into the next segment of the show here is has your cigar journey turned full blown addiction? For me, yes. I am just addicted to cigars. I'm addicted to smoking cigars. I love it. I love everything about it. Um, it's just one of the great things is just like you guys, man. Meeting people, going to really cool places, and just talking with people and hearing stories, and um, getting some knowledge. Um, Ray said he's smoking a CAO Brasilia. That's a good stick. I like the Brasilia box press, man. That's one of my faves. Ryan, week has been great. Right on. Perdomo Champagne Noir. Yeah, that's a good stogie, man. I'll tell you what, Perdomo, they really go out of their way. I mean, they draw test every cigar. They just put the best tobaccos in. They've got great rolling factories, and it's the family business, you know what I mean? And they put a lot of love and care into it. Yeah, sometimes. And that's the other thing, man. A big ass record collection takes up a lot of fucking space. You know what I mean? And it's a lot of work keeping it organized to where you can find stuff. When you've got 1,200 records or whatever, if you don't catalog it and alphabetize it, man, you're looking for days trying to find the album that you want to listen to. And plus it's just like now with the I've switched over. I don't have any of the vintage stuff anymore. I kept my focal speakers, and I've just got a Weem Ultra streamer that I'm using as a preamp, and I've got a couple of the D class Fogies audio monoblocks. And man, I tell you what, that little setup, uh, I've got probably 350 in the streamer. I think I got both of those monoblocks for under $300 off of Amazon. I've got about $400 in cables, and then my speakers were like $2,200. So, and then I've got a Phase Tech 12-inch powered sub with a 12-inch passive radiator on the bottom of it. And man, that thing, for that little bit of money, that sounds way better than that fucking $15,000 system that I put together. I mean, it honestly does. The new D class amplifiers are just sick, especially when you're going monoblock. So it's basically each speaker has its own amplifier. So, you get way better channel separation, and your sound stage is just way huger. Everything's just deeper, and just, I've literally listened to, stuff that I've listened to, excuse me, ever since I was a little kid, and I've heard it hundreds of times. And listening to it on this system, I've heard shit that I didn't even know was on those records. It's just like little nuances and little things down deep that it was like, damn. Yeah, dude. Sirwin Vegas rock. You know what I mean? That was like, that was like the speakers that I used to love to listen to, like, Black Sabbath and Alice Cooper and, fucking Motley Crue and Van Halen. And, those were your rocking out, just knock your dick in the dirt fucking woofers that would just punch you in the throat, man. Sirwin Vegas made some really, really good speakers for sure. Keep talking so much, my damn stogie keeps going out on me. This is probably one of the ones that I just picked up. Well, I just picked up a couple more today. So the local that I've got, when they get allocated stuff, they'll only sell you 2 per day. So it's like, I keep got going back, because especially on these Oscuros, man, they're really hard to find anywhere. And I really love this cigar. It's really good. So I took the wife with me today, and I was like, yeah, I bought 2 Don Carlos Sharks, and I bought 2 of those Oscuros. And I was like, yeah, and she'll take 2 of those Oscuros too. So he pulls them all out and then getting ready to pay for them. And I was like, yeah, why don't you just go ahead and throw hers on mine? I'll pay for them and shit, And he's like, uh-huh. I was like, those are for her. He's like, yeah. Yeah, he's like, I'll do it for you this time, but that's not how it works. And I was like, well, there's 2 people here, so fucking shut up and give me the cigars, man. Are you in the business of selling cigars or what? But anyway, yeah. So it's just like, cigars have kind of become an addiction for me, man. I've just bought and bought and bought, and then when I started watching a lot of cigar content and digging it and seeing what it was about, I knew I wanted to start a channel. I knew that I would be able to do something cool, and I would be able to share my passion about cigars and just what I love about them. And then I just kept buying shit that I was like, oh, well, this will make, because I originally thought, I'd just do like what everybody else did. This is the cigar and we're going to smoke it and fucking let's check it out. And the first third and the second third and the third third, and, I thought that I really wanted to, Hey, Manny. Welcome, buddy. Glad you can make it to the show. Big Manny in the house. But, so yeah, I thought I would do more review type videos, but then I started seeing that, man, there's just a ton of people out there doing that. There's a lot of people doing reviews and stuff. And, I'll kind of be honest with you. It's like, you know, I, I get that, you're tasting stuff with cigars, but this thing with the notes, you know what I mean? Uh, you got people coming up with all these different notes and stuff, and I've seen a video where somebody literally named off about 14 different notes that they got off of one cigar, and I'm calling bullshit. You know what I mean? It's like it don't taste like all that. You know what I mean? And so that's when, hey, Professor, welcome. Glad you could make it, buddy. We're just still kind of getting stuff going here, just rapping, bullshitting. Got a good crew in here tonight. But so yeah, that's when I just decided that I was just gonna just do what I do. Just do something different. Just have fun with it and just kind of show my life around how cigars has made me feel and made me change, and things that it makes me want to do, and things that I've been able to enjoy it with, like the barbecue thing. I've live in Kansas City. I've been cooking barbecue almost my whole life, and you know uh, having a big meal that you cook for everybody, and then just you know, sitting down and having a really good cigar and kind of wash all those flavors off your palate with just the right cigar. It's just amazing. So Donut says, I'm pretty new to the cigar culture. I've been smoking off and on for years, just now getting into the culture. Right on. Yeah, and that's been what's been great for me. I've been you know, uh starting to get out more. Of course, I got the Death Star here at my house, man, and for the first time in 30 years of marriage, I can actually smoke in my house. And so it's like I don't have to go anywhere. And then especially when I was still drinking bourbon, it's like, some of these cigar bars and cigar lounges here in Kansas City that I was going to, they're so far away that it's like, I would go and have a couple pours, and then I'm also a CDL driver. I've got a commercial driver's license, and so your blood alcohol for a commercial driver is half of what it is for everybody else. So like I could have like a half a whiskey and get a DUI. Plus, I got to drive home through 7 fucking jurisdictions on the way home, county and cities and, hypos running around. And it just wasn't worth it to me, you know. Um, so I just got to the point where it was like, yeah, I'd rather kind of stay home but now that I'm not drinking, it's like I've been getting out more, been meeting more people, been, doing more stuff. Man, that time, hey Guns, welcome to the show, brother. Glad you can make it. What you smoking on tonight, buddy? Yeah, it's exactly. They definitely blowing some smoke somewhere through a punch cut. They blowing it up somebody's punch cut and shit. But yeah, so it's like uh I just kept buying cigars. I kept buying cigars. And I kept buying cigars. I'm like, oh, well, that'll make a good review. That'll make a good review. And then I kind of got in that deal where it was like I wasn't smoking near as much as I was buying, and kind of got into that addiction, because, it's the same way with records. It's the same way, if you, collect anything, if you have a collection, of course, I always tell everybody, it's like, I don't have a collection of cigars. I have a selection, because I've turned out to the point where it's like, there isn't anything that I have in my humidors that I won't just pull out and smoke there. There's like, at my age, it's like, getting up on this side of the dirt every day is reason to celebrate, especially as hard as I've partied and fucking as much as I've pounded my body for the last 40 years. You know what I mean? It's good to just get out of bed, so I'm not afraid to pull, I've been smoking a lot of opuses. Hell, this is my fourth opus this week, but, I bought them to smoke them, and really been enjoying them. There's a lot of other cigars that I've had that have just been like, I don't know. I've had a few dog turds here lately. That it was just like, man, I wish I didn't buy those. They were hyped up and um, was not what I thought they were going to be, and they sure as hell weren't worth the money. Um, like I said, my wife would kill me. I smoked a factory smoke last week. My kids kept saying it stunk. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, those are just, bundle cigars, just, something to grab and, some yard gars or whatever. I've had a couple of those, but I didn't enjoy them. And yeah, I had construction issues with them as well. But yeah, so I've really gotten addicted to the cigars. And then the other thing on the other side of the spectrum, let's go into this next segment here. How many fucking cigars and lighters and shit do you really need? You know what I mean? All the accessories and all the shit that you gotta have to go with it and everything, that you think you have to go with it, And I started off with that, kind of got into it a little bit. So I'll share this with you. So this is what I keep all of my accessories in. So this was the very first box of Opus that I ever bought. These were the God's Whispers, and one of my favorites. But I just keep this next to me, and I keep all my crap in there, And so I started out with just this little, this little single torch, and that's kind of where I started with, and learned how to use that, and it worked really good for me. And then I bought one of these big triple some bitches with the, it's got the screw off bottom that's actually a holder, and it's got a poker in it. It's got a punch cutter on the bottom of it, and that was just too clunky and heavy, so I really didn't dig that too awful much. And then the guys down at Great Smokes sent me this La Polina lighter. It's just a little single, flame. And in fact, I actually use this as my cigarette lighter, And then I found this little dude. So this is a cool little lighter, man. So this thing's kind of freaky. It's a see if I can get it to face. So it's a wide flame, but the way you light it is you just push this button up and it comes on, and then you just shake it and it comes on. you shake it to light it. It's pretty kick ass. And it's got a nice wide soft flame on it, So I actually use this quite a bit. This is the one I usually take with me, when I'm going out, to the bars. I'll take that one with me. And then this was my first cutter that I bought. This is just a little Lotus, guillotine that's got a stopper in it. I kind of liked it because it wouldn't let you cut your shit too deep. And then started kind of getting into the V cuts. So I got this. What is this? This is I think this is a Zycar, but it's just a nice little switchblade V cutter. And then of course I had to have the perfect draw tool and all that shit, and I had to get some gum to fix cigars that I would fuck up because I'd cut them too deep and shit. And then of course I had to have the cigar medics, humidity tester and shit. I had to have that. And then I keep an Allen wrench in my box because when you're filling up the butanes, you fill them up a little bit, all that air gets trapped in there. Well, I just take this little Allen wrench and let the air out of it and then fill it up the rest of the way. So I always keep that in my box too. And then recently I've been on the look, for something a little bit more quality. And there's no way I was going to spend, that much money on like a DuPont or anything like that. I was just like, there's no way. And plus they've got like the proprietary flints and the proprietary, fuel and all that crap. And I was just like, no, I'm not going, doing all that shit, Hey, look who showed up. What's going on, doctor? How you doing, brother? Glad you could make it to the show tonight. We also got Bobby. Welcome, Bobby. Good to see you, man. Glad you could make it to the show. Hope you guys are having a good evening. We've just been kind of chilling out, rapping about stuff, having a good time. Marvin, I'm wearing my Dunbarton hat just cuz. And smoking me Opus X, believe it or not, I'm smoking an Opus X. This is the Oxo Oscuro Robusto. Really, really good cigar. So anyway, I was trying to find something, and I've been, I remember my dad, when he smoked, he used to have this little gold hard case that he put his cigarettes in, and it had a lighter built into the top of it. He could like open it up, pull a cigarette out, close it, and then just push a button. And it was made by Calibri. And he was like, man, he's like, I love this, it's a good lighter. He says it works every time. And so I started looking at the Calibri stuff, and so I went out to Cassie's at the cigar room, my favorite humidor. And I'm going to do a video on her shop, man. This little shop that this gal has, she just never ceases to amaze me, all the good shit that she has. But she had this Calibri, and it's a double cut. So it's a V cut and a guillotine, and it's got stops in it and everything, and just a real quality cutter, man. And it cuts through that shit super smooth. And then, of course, I had to have the matching Calibri lighter. This is the Calibri. What the hell do they call this one? The Julius. So this is a soft flame, but it's a dual flame lighter. So it'll get your shit lit pretty quick. I really like this lighter. It's good and heavy, and it sparks right up every time. And then, of course, I had to be one of the first ones to have the old the old lightsaber, the Hacksmith. This sumbitch is just freaking insane. And I tell you what, man, you want to light up a fucking cigar, you put this sumbitch on there for about 10 damn seconds, and it is, a big 60 plus ring gauge. You just put a little bit of flame with that on it, and it's going right now. I don't use that one that much. It's kind of more of a, just a cool thing to have for the Death Star, a lightsaber freaking lighter. But So yeah, I just got into that too. Just buying lots of accessories and all that kind of crap, and just Marvin says going big with a Flor de Antillas 10th anniversary with some barrel cigar blend. Right on, dude. That's a good combination right there. I'm doing a doing this opus, and then I've got the oh, what the hell, I can't even remember the name of this coffee now. It's a Cuban dark roast, and just been sipping on some coffee tonight. Mayorga. It's a Mayorga Cubano dark roast. Really, really good coffee. And I'm drinking it in my heated mug. Keeps the shit hot for like 2 damn hours. So Marvin, how was your week, man? Did you make it through? You know, hats off to Rise and Grind, guys. I tell you what, there is not a harder working sumbitch in the cigar to world, period. I mean, this man, with all the shit he's got going on, with his corporate job, with his channel, being a pastor at his church, I've never seen the likes, man. And you just keep coming up with great stuff, man. I really love watching your channel. I was from day one. I've been hooked, and you know that. And Marvin and I have become really great friends. We talk a lot, chat a lot, and he's been there for me, kind of guiding me through some of the cigar stuff and turning me on to good cigars. He's been there for me spiritually, just recently went through some really tough times and stuff, and he was there for me, and prayed with me and prayed for me, and just you know the best of the best in the cigar world, man. I tell you what, I'm really honored to have you here on my show tonight, brother, and thank you for coming. So this was something else that I learned on Nick Perdomo's thing. It was like he did, him and his son do this podcast, and they were talking about toasting the foot, but they were also talking about, do you take the band off before you start smoking the cigar? And I've found that it's like sometimes I would be like, well, I don't want to advertise what I'm smoking because I smoke a lot more expensive cigars, and I don't want to be that guy in the lounge that's like, hey, I'm smoking a fucking Byron, what are you smoking, some fucking turd stick, some shit like that. I don't want to be that guy, so I'd pull the bands off, and then I'd fucking end up pulling the fucking wrapper off, pull out a chunk of wrapper. And he said, man, the deal is you smoke this and get it down close to the band. Well, that heat starts heating up that gum, and it gets warm, and then it makes it a lot easier for you to pull it off without it sticking to the band. They just peel right off. And I'd never thought about it like that before. So, just a little tidbit from, one of the biggies in the industry, just out there sharing information. And that's the thing I love about the cigar community too, man. Uh, everybody's willing to share good experiences and knowledge. And, I wouldn't know half the shit I know about cigars if it wasn't for some of these channels and some of the great people that I've met in cigar lounges, and just, you know, the way that everybody looks out for one another. You know what I mean? And, I've had people offer me up suggestions in a non pretentious way that I was just like, thank you. Thanks for, helping me not fuck up my $20 cigar, or whatever. Um, got my local don't carry them, or the surplus, or frescoes. Right on. Yeah, I tell you what, yeah, that's how it works. Of the time, unless you have them aged for a while, then it's like, yeah, yeah. So exactly, it's like because they kind of, you age them a little while and stuff, and that tightness and some of that moisture purges out of there, and they'll, constrict, and then, sometimes you can just take those bands and you just slide them right off, like butter, you know. Gunn says bands were created to keep white gloves clean. Some brands suck at yeah, 100%, man. I can't tell you how many cigars that I've had that has been glued to the wrapper, and I pull that some bitch off, and I literally have just destroyed the cigar to where it's just unsmokable. You know what I mean? And it's just like, oh my god, man, are you serious? But you think about it, man. You've seen videos of these people that are in there by the hundreds, just literally rolling cigar after cigar after cigar after cigar all day. You know what I mean? And can you imagine living in a country like that, where life is really tough, and you're going into work and you're rolling, hundreds of cigars every day. It's a monotonous, tedious job. And yeah, you know, we all like a fashionably fuck off Friday every once in a while. And that's probably where that came from. Somebody came to work, you know, the grandmama donkey died and fucking, and they would say, fuck it, I ain't give a shit. Out of here, that kind of shit could happen for real, in any place. So, but well, I'm glad you are, man. It's a lot of work, dude. It's a lot of work, and running, running this stream yard and doing all this stuff, and having everything just right, and what you gonna do. It's just it's a lot of busy work. It's a lot of things to pay attention to, and then especially uh, when you're trying to smoke at the same time, but you've got a lot of people, and just keeping up with the chat alone for you is a lot of work, on top of trying to run everything else and pay attention right here, and looking in the camera, and not be doing this shit all day long. You know what I mean? You still need to engage with your audience. Gun says rich folks toss a cigar at the band. Well, that sucks for them. You know what I mean? Because I can't tell you how many times, that I've enjoyed a cigar so damn much. In fact, everybody's got their little nubbers and all that shit. Well, I just take my little my little cigar medic thing, that a human humidity tester, and I just take these little some bitches and just poke them right in there, and then I just hold it with that, and then I can set it down sideways on my ashtray and smoke that some bitch all the way down to the end most times if it's a good cigar. You're throwing away, probably in some cigars, the best taste that you're going to have. Some cigars really come alive in the end of it. The classic Lancero. Which punch he's smoking? Okay, so Guns is smoking the classic Lancero. That happens to be one of my favorite Batolas. I smoke a lot of the Liga L40s, Lanceros. That's a really, really great cigar. And I also, this last year, I bought that Dunbarton GFY Lancero collection, which actually It it was 10 cigars and all different makeups. All, they had a green one in there. They had, a bunch of different dark ones. They had some light ones. They just had a bunch of different stuff. And they just had foot bands that had numbers on them. And supposedly the deal is at some point Saka is going to come out and tell you what all these blends are. So I've actually been, when I'm smoking these, so Marvin was gracious enough to send me one of his really great cigar journals. And they're made really, really well. He did really good on those. If you guys really want to start, logging some stuff by hand, man, hit him up for one of his cigar journals because they are nice. But I was writing down all all of my impressions and what I thought they might be. And he's supposed to come out at some point and tell everybody what they are. member of the burnt tip society. So when sometimes, and when I first started smoking cigars, I just went back to the old hemostats and I was just clipping them on there and nubbing it like a doobie. It worked, but, whatever it takes, just, if you want to enjoy it to the end, find some way to do it. Yeah. Yes. Thank you, Marvin. Please hit the like, hit some hearts up for me. I appreciate it, man. You guys have really, really helped me grow the channel. And I'm having such a good time, man. I'm having such a good time making all this content for you and, coming up, with all this different stuff and everything. And it's just like, like my homeboy Simon, wouldn't you say so, buddy?
Absolutely brilliant, my man.
Just coming up with all these different things and putting a lot of time in, and in fact, if you really want to help a brother out, you can scan that code right there, shoot a little money to the Sean Needs Opus funds, and help me keep paying for some of this new camera equipment and some of this stuff that that I've been using to really step up my game and everything. But so I had what was that I had yesterday? I had one of the it's a Tatuaje Miami torpedo. Never had one before. Marvin's been trying to get me more into smoking some of the foundation stuff as I've been trying to get him smoking more of the Dunbarton stuff. And I'll tell you what, it was a $14 stick, and God, it was delicious, man. I really, really enjoyed smoking that some bitch. It was good, like a medium full, and just kept giving you more and more and more throughout the whole cigar. Really, really loved it. So something else I kind of wanted to share with you guys. We're talking about journals and we were talking about, keeping track of your stuff. I don't know if any of you guys use the cigar scanner, but I love it. I have been using it a lot. And I kind of wanted to kind of share with you how I use it, how I feel it's beneficial to me in keeping track of my selection and, keeping track of everything and knowing that, I remember when I bought my first cigar and, heard, like Marvin talking about, well, I'm not even going to smoke this for a year or 2 years. And I was like, what? How in the hell can you wait that long? And now I've got, cigars that have been sitting in my humidors for, a year and a half. And I'm like, oh, yeah, you just set some aside and then just let them sit there, and every time you go back to them in 6 months or a year or whatever, they're almost always better, doesn't really matter at that point. But anyway, so I wanted to share this with you. So let me pull this up here. So this is my cigar scanner, and I've got 447 cigars, almost fucking $9,000 worth of fucking cigars. Talk about an addiction. But I've kind of gotten to the point where I've got so many cigars and I've kind of split stuff up now. So I've got like my Numero, Boveda, electric humidor, that I keep a ton of stuff in. And I just love the fact that I can go through and look through what I've got. I can see when I bought it, how long I've had it, and so I've got most of my good cigars in there. And I've also got this grab box, that is just like, there's all kinds of good stuff. There's that Carl Malone that Mr. Cash gave me the other day. And, some Perdomos, crowned heads, lavaliers. There's that Tatuaje Miami Unicos. I bought 3 of them. I still got 2 left. Those are really good. I bought a whole box of these Battleborn Warriors. I really love EP Carrillos. But anyway, so I've got, stuff that I've had, that's been in there for a long time. I got some of the Namabuki Room 101s and Marvin, I do like that Tabernacle Havana seed. I've smoked several of those, and that's a really good cigar. But that box, basically, I just kind of throw shit in there. And when I don't know what I want to smoke, I just lift the lid up and shuffle through it a little bit and grab something, and that's what I'm smoking tonight, And then, of course, I got my Opus box, which that's that 25th anniversary. So I've got like 73 Opuses in there now. Just a ton of goodies, some of the Oscuros, the new Templo de Oros, the 20th anniversary Power of the Dreams, more Templo de Oros, the 20th anniversary Believes, just the regular Opus Perfection, just the little guys. Those are a good smoke. And I love these Opus X Bellicosos, just a little good, quick little smoke. And this Perfection 888, these are the Lancero type. It's like a 6 7/8 by 44. That's a delicious cigar. Got some Passion D'Amores. I got 4 of those God Whispers left out of that box. And so I go in, and then like if I've got anything that has a note on it, so what I do is like, okay, I keep track of like if somebody gave that cigar to me or if I gave one to somebody and when, and I got a bunch of cigars like that. And, I always just make sure that, here's all my Lanceros. Of course, I got that Atabey Diosos in there because it's so damn long. It won't, it's an 8-inch freaking cigar and it just won't fit in anything else. Got one of the Lampert Limitada 2022s, the Salamones in there. And this Joya de Nicaragua Numero Uno is a really good Lancero. I love that. The Liga Privadas, and then just little notes that I throw in there on them, and stuff to remember about them and stuff. But I just make sure that I go in and freaking just take the time to put everything in there, and before I even light up the cigar, I'm putting it in my journal to say that I smoked it and when, and then, take it out of the humidor and keep my inventory correct. And it gets a little off every once in a while, but not too bad. And, sometimes, especially when you start getting, um, you know, more and more and more cigars, you can't remember exactly where you put everything, and, oh, look at these. And that just pretty as shit. I love those. I was hooked on that X from day one, but I really figured out what it was all about. And I was like, shit, yeah, man, these are really good. And Marvin turned me on to those Don Carlos Sharks. And shit, I bought a box of those. I was lucky enough to get a whole box. And, just about anything for Fuente is really good. But yeah, I am, Manny, and like I was talking about earlier, it's become an addiction for me. You know what I mean? It really has. And you weren't here, but I was telling everybody about selling off my record collection, and I made all my money back plus about 14 grand. So I had a bunch of money to fucking put into something, and it's been these cigars, and I love it. I love the cigars. I love just absolutely, getting into it, and just, God, dude, I can't tell you how much enjoyment I've had from so many different cigars. And yeah, that Battleborn, yes, and it came in this really, really cool box. In fact, hang on, give me just a second. I'm going to grab this box. I want to show it to you. It was just gorgeous. Give me just a second. Getting a little cramped back here. So yeah, Ernesto does a really, really good job. So this is the box that it came in. It's got like the camo on it and stuff. And a lot of their high-end boxes, they have these push button locks on the boxes. You got to push it in, and it's a limited 2,500 box run. And then it also came with this cool ass little freaking dog tag. Battleborn had the date on it. And shit, I got like 4 left out of this whole damn box. They were just delicious. I really, really love the Carrillo stuff, man. In fact, I just got a box. I'm getting ready to do an unboxing video. I got a box of the new Pledge Purples. Was lucky enough to get a box, and then I bought like 4 more. I want to let them age, and I've smoked a couple of those, and they are just absolutely delicious. Yeah, I like the 20th, especially the God's Whispers. That's just a great Vitola, and I just like the smoothness of it. You know what I mean? It's a little bit lighter. It's not as spice forward, pepper forward as some of the other opuses are, and just smokes really well. Just tastes really, really good. Really, really enjoy them, man. And yeah, my shop gave me the box and dog tag since I bought the last. Well, that's cool. And I've done that before too. Sometimes it's like, hey, if I buy like the last 4 or 5 of these, can I have the box? And shit. Most of these people that run these cigar shops, they don't give 2 fucks about a cigar box. It's just one less thing they gotta get rid of. So it is pretty cool, when you can come up with something like that. And that Battleborn box is heavy enough. I mean, hell, you could that would make a really great dry box. You know what I mean? Make a really great dry box. You could, throw a lighter Bovida in there, throw like a 62 Bovida in there, and just throw some shit in there and let it dry out a little bit, you know. Ryan says, got to try those Rise and Grind. My shop got them, but the box was bad. Oh, yeah. And you know, like I said, this is my, you know, this is the prettiest Opus box, you know. I mean, shit, you know. And I bought the matching ashtray. I have this ashtray that I use out in the Death Star, and you know, so having the ashtray and then that box right behind it with all my shit in there, I got both of them sitting on my table right there, and it just looks absolutely stunning. You know, I just love it. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to doing that. Uh, Unboxing video of that Pledge Purple. And so you know, for those of you that don't know, so, you know, the Pledge came out a few years ago and, you know, was really popular. It's a really, you know, really good smoke, a little more full body, but it's just creamy smoke and just delicious. And it's not harsh on the French exhale. I mean, it doesn't just burn the shit out of your nose when you smoke it. And so I guess the story with the purple is they held back a big bundle of the original Pledge wrappers, and then now they've let those age another 5 or 6 years, and then they come back with the Pledge blend and wrapped it with that extra aged wrapper. And oh my God, they are amazing. If you get a chance to pick up one of those EPC, well, it's Casa Carrillo now, you know. If you get a Casa Carrillo Pledge Purple, I highly recommend it. I've smoked a couple of them already, you know, just right out of the box, and I can't wait to, you know, let that box, you know, sit in there for 6 months or a year and come back and just, oh my God, they're just going to blow your mind, you know. That's one of the other things, you know, how many cigar brands, you know, do you guys feel like you can smoke right out of the box? You know, what brands can you just pull it out and smoke it every time and it's good and you don't have to age it, you don't have to do anything? And then, like, what are the brands that you found like, man, this is a little too strong or whatever, but you know, or maybe somebody will give you one that has got some age on it and you're like, wow, that tastes a lot different than, you know, the one that I just bought at, you know, Total Wine or, you know, my local or ordered offline or whatever, you know. And you know, that's another thing that I wanted to talk about is, you know, the online sales are great, and I've never done like what's the one where they have like all the auctions and shit, and they've got like big wads and packs of fucking cigars that, you know, you bid on them or something. Is it Cigar Bid? Is that what it is? You know what I'm talking about? But anyway, I've never bought anything off of that. Um, and Yeah, thank you, Ryan. Yeah, Cigar Bid. I've never bought anything off of that. I was just thinking, man, they're always so cheap, you know. And it's like, is there fucking something wrong with them, or, you know, why is this? You know, it seemed to me like it's just a clearinghouse or something. So I never investigated. Has anybody had any good luck with getting, you know, some good cigars at a good price from that place, and they were, you know, they were okay? And I've bought a lot of cigars online. You know, I have, and I you know, basically have just gotten to the point where I really am trying to support more of my locals. And like I said, this gal Cassie, in fact, hey, it's happy PCA weekend, everybody. PCA is going on down in Nolens right now. Everybody's got all their booths set up and shit. And she's down there, buying product and getting stuff for this next year. I'm really looking forward to seeing what some of these guys are going to come up with, and hopefully we get some fresh sticks, something different, something a little more affordable, goddamn, $9,000 worth of cigars has ate up my record stash. You know what I mean? Because I've probably smoked another 300 different. I've smoked about 300 different cigars in the last year and a half, and some of them multiples, of my favorite ones. But yeah, I'm hoping that there'll be some good stuff, coming out from everybody this year, and we can look forward to, having some availability, and I'm just hoping that people are going to start getting away from some of this, limited edition this and all that crap and hyping up stuff, and just getting back to making cigars. And it seems like, just in my short experience with the cigars, some of these LEs that you think it's just, I'll never see those again. And then, they come out with them, and, Cassie was like, man, they come out with them every year, but they say it's a limited release or whatever, but they come out with it every single year. It's like, well, why don't you just say it's this cigar and just leave it at that, but they throw that LE on there and it hypes everything. And, just kind of, just drives me nuts, man. Okay. Yeah. Cause they, Tim, sells a fuck ton of cigars, and, I did not know that was, just kind of like his clearinghouse, but well, that's good to know. Maybe I might try to save a little bit of money this year. And, but like I said, I'm addicted to it, man. I can't quit buying cigars, good God, I went down to go meet Mr. Cash just to, take a cigar. And I brought him, one of those Opus Oscuros, and then I brought down a Fuente Extra Añejo that I'd had in my humidor for over a year, and we sat there and smoked. And tell you a little story about Mr. Cash. He's always been very generous. He's always doing super chats on Marvin's channel, and helping everybody out, and being really good about, sharing the love and showing his appreciation for people. So, my job, I work for a medical company that owns a bunch of homes, and they're like really fatty, what you would have considered a mansion back in the late 70s, early 80s. And that's what some of these houses are. They're like late 70s to like late 80s, like 4,000 to 6,000 square feet homes. Some of them got like Brady Bunch architecture, and they're just, massive. But what we do is we, we house in these homes and provide round the clock care for like paraplegics and extremely disabled people, and people with, rare diseases that, are incurable. And, so we just take care of them, and we've got like a fleet of vehicles that we, put them in their wheelchair. Cause a lot of these people, they can't walk, we've got these things called a Hoyer lift, and you got to like strap them into it. And then, it's like a freaking, it's like a cherry picker pulling a motor out. They lift them up and take them in and shower them, do all this stuff, give them their medicine and everything. But anyway, so I'm the director of maintenance for this company, and I go, work on the houses and fix all the houses and stuff. And we're doing a lot of remodeling because we're trying to just update and just really keep these houses nice for these people that live there, and want more people to come move in and want their families to be comfortable and have a nice place to hang out with their kids or their sister or whoever. And so we're going to replace 3 vanities in this one house. And I was like, I called down there, and God bless them, but they're we work with a bunch of ladies. There's a bunch of ladies that work for us, and it was like, hey, can you measure these vanities for me so I can, buy some up here and bring them with me, and I don't have to run around all over Springfield trying to find something. And so I was literally going to have to make a trip, 3-hour drive, to go measure these countertops. And Mr. Cash's name is Ron. And so I was like, Ron, can you do me a huge favor? I was like, can you go over to this house and measure up these countertops for me, please? I was like, I don't have anybody that can do it or read a tape measure or knows how to do any of that stuff. Well, he's a truck driver. He delivers parts to all O'Reilly's out in Kansas. So he's going from Springfield out to Kansas and drives a big semi truck, and he messed up his shoulder and just had surgery. And he's like, well, I kind of got a busted chicken wing. And, but he went and did it, and he took pictures of all the measurements and everything. And I was so appreciative. And, so I sent him a massive cigar bomb, man. I sent him like 12 freaking cigars. I was like, brother, thank you. You saved me a day trip of driving 3 hours to measure 3 stupid cabinets and come back. And, his generosity just sparked me to be generous with him. And then, he got his care pack and was like, oh my God, I sent him some bangers and just stuff that I really love and really enjoy. And then when I was with him down at that Village Marketplace last week, when I shot that video of that joint, really cool place, by the way. If you haven't seen that video, you got to check it out. It's probably the nicest cigar lounge I've ever been to, and they even serve food, and they'll bring you food in the lounge and shit. But anyway, so I went down there, and he had a couple of Manhattans, and I brought those cigars with me, and we bought a couple of cigars from that place, but we sat down and smoked the ones that I brought. And then I got on my phone, and I was like, hey, talking to my boss, the owner, Kelly. And I was like, hey, would it be okay if I paid for my friend's dinner and stuff tonight, since he, was gracious enough to measure those counters up for us, that, we didn't have to do it. And she was like, sure, that no problem, And so I went in and talked to the dude, Chris, and then I was like, hey, you make sure that I get the bill. You know what I mean? And you know how Mr. Cash is, In fact, I sent a picture to Marvin. It was like, hey, we finally got together, and we're actually meeting in person, and it was cool. Sent him a picture of us sitting there smoking together, and he was like, "You're lucky." He's like, "I bet Mr. Cash is buying," And I was like, "Nope." Hell, I'm writing it off on the fucking company, And Ron was like, "No, man." And I was like, "No, dude." I was like, "Really, we appreciate you. We appreciate what you done for us. You're going down there doing shit with a busted chicken wing, and you didn't even have to do it, So it was pretty cool, and shit, it was the right thing to do, But it really was cool meeting him, and yeah, he is awesome, and I think he's donated to Ray's channel too, helping him grow and doing his stuff that he needs to do. And you know, sometimes it takes a lot of support, doing all this content and doing all this stuff all the time. It can be a lot of work, but I just do it because I love to do it. You know what I mean? Like I said, I've been in photography my whole life. My dad's owned camera stores and, been around that shit. And, I've shot a lot of weddings and I've shot a lot of portraits and I've, done all that kind of shit. And, I used to make a lot of good money back when everybody was still shooting film. And then when digital came out, the photography market just went in the toilet because, you know, everybody go out and buy a fucking $500 SLR and think that they're a photographer. And, I used to charge, $3,500 to shoot a wedding. And, these fuckers are like, I'll do it for you for 800 or whatever, So I was just like, fuck it. I got out of shooting because it's, a wedding is so much damn work, man, because you're there all day. Plus, you're catching those moments that are irreplaceable. So if you don't get them, you fucked up, and for every hour that you're shooting, you're spending 2 or 3 hours in the Lightroom editing everything to make it look just right, So it's not just a 12-hour day at the wedding and shooting, then it's another 2 days after that. So it's like I just got to the point where it's like it's just too much work. So that's when I started, getting into YouTube and like, man, I like this video shit, and, in fact, I sold my big camera. I had a Sony A9 and a bunch of G series lenses, 2.8 lenses and stuff. And I sold all that shit, and, in fact, now I'm doing everything solely. In fact, I'm running this live stream off my Osmo Pocket 3. This tiny ass little camera with a gimbal on it. Just amazing. You've seen how my video looks and how clean and clear and all the colors are and everything. And it's just this little bitty camera that's about that tall and I can fit it in my pocket. It just does everything that I need to do, And but anyway, it just every time that I go to try to come up with a video or make a video, and Marvin will tell you, like I said, he's pumping out all kinds of content and he's always keeping it fresh. You put a lot of work in just trying to come up with cool stuff for people to watch, people to share and not make it repetitious and not make it the same every time. So in fact, this is my first, Fogies Freaky Friday show. And I got to thinking, man, I want to start doing some live streams on location. So I went out, I bought this really badass hotspot, from AT&T and got that on my account. And went and bought a laptop today and got all the shit. So I'm going to start doing live stream shows from cigar bars, from cool places in town when I travel, all that kind of stuff. And, do some shit and get out of this Death Star a little bit. I'm sitting here smoking by myself. It's nice having all this, but, sometimes it gets old, because good conversation goes along with good cigars, and when you don't have anybody to talk to, you find yourself sitting there talking to yourself like a fucking crazy man, and, it's just like, and plus, like I said, so Kansas City is getting ready here in the next month or so to host the FIFA World Cup Championships. So there's going to be people coming into Kansas City from all over the world, man. And I guarantee you there's going to be some cigar smokers. And I'm hoping to, meet with some people from different countries and, kind of find out, what cigars are over there like and, their availability. And, they get different cigars than we get sometimes. And, just sit down and have some conversations with people from a different culture and shit, So I thought the easiest way to do that just going to be, just go wandering and do some live streams that way. So I'm really looking forward to doing that. Yeah, so you're still figuring out your camera after 3 years. Well, you need to get with me. Or let me ask you this: Are you shooting pretty much on automatic or like aperture priority or shutter priority, or are you just leaving your camera on automatic, Marvin? Oh yeah, Don Carlos #2. Yeah, I love the Don Carlos, man. It's so good. Marvin turned me on to those too, and I was just like, wow. I love them. In fact, like I said, I just bought a couple of Don Carlos Sharks today. Okay, so you're shooting on auto. Well, that's why you're having the problems that you're having. You know what I mean? Because the camera's trying to think, and it's constantly readjusting. So what you need to start doing is you need to start shooting in manual. You want to keep your eye. So there's the exposure triangle, right? So you've got aperture, you got shutter speed, and you've got ISO, which that's basically your light sensitivity. And the problem that you're having mostly is with your focus. You know what I mean? And lenses have the irises in them that close, just like your eye, they open and close and restrict or allow more light in. Well, the more you stop that lens down, the deeper your depth of field is. So, and what I mean by that is, so depth of field is basically what's going to be in focus from this foot to this foot. So when you're shooting in auto, that's constantly changing. And so that's throwing off everything else. And it's not allowing your autofocus to do its job. You know what I mean? So if you go with a lower ISO and go with you need to know what your frame rate is. Okay, so if you're shooting everything at 60 frames a second, then you need to double that as your shutter speed. So if you're shooting at 60 frames a second, your shutter speed needs to be 1/120th. Or if you're shooting at 30 frames a second, then it needs to be 1/160th. Or if you're shooting at 24 frames a second, it needs to be 1/150th. So that's going to lock that down. And then you want to set your aperture somewhere around f5, because as close as you are, everything from here on back behind you a little bit is going to stay in focus no matter what. You know what I mean? Just because you've got it stopped down that far and you've increased your depth of field. So then at that point, then all you have to do is just, once you got your lights set up the way you want them, then all you have to do is just adjust your ISO to make the exposure look the way that you want to. And then you're on lock, dude. And then you ain't going to have any more problems with not being in focus or any of that kind of shit. And you're going to get consistent video, and, then your autofocus can do its job. It's going to focus on you when it needs to. And then when you do like product stuff and you come up close, it'll focus on that and come back out, but you won't have those worries. So yeah, you need to stop shooting in auto and start shooting in manual. In fact, you get some time, and you want to play, you got a little time, call me. I'll get on the phone with you, and I'll run you through how to do everything. You know what I mean? And in fact, you get a chance, text me the model number of your camera, so I can just look at the controls and see where everything is, and I'll walk you through it, brother. And you can get done with all that camera shit, and you'll know what it is, and no more worries. Ryan says he lit up a Hiram Solomon Grand Architect. Right on. I have not had that, but you're enjoying it. Well, exactly. And that's what I'm saying about, everybody in the cigar community. In fact, a while back ago, he was having some issues, and I just reached out to him and I was like, hey dude, you might want to change this setting on your camera, and just trying to help him get through some of those problems and stuff. And you never know what people know, especially with an old fogey like me. I know a lot of shit about a lot of shit, just because I've fucking gone around the sun a lot of times, and done a lot of stuff. But everybody, like I said, everybody's always looking out for one another. Everybody's getting and getting 20 different notes. Yeah. You getting you getting all kind of shit, man. You're starting to sound like you know, freaking Simon and shit, man. Simon, like, give us like some fucked up tasting notes.
Complex with hints of vanilla, cinnamon, curare, and some overtones of leather and hackberry smoke.
You know what I'm saying? It's just like the people be talking that shit, and it's like, okay, most people don't even know what hackberry is, and curare, and that's like a Middle Eastern spice, But some of these people be coming up with these notes like they're a fucking 5-star Michelin chef, And it's like, I'm not getting that. Yeah, I'm getting it's a really good smoke. That's what I'm getting. Or I don't like, I don't. And here's the thing too. It's like, if you ask somebody what they're tasting, and then they got to sit there for 45 fucking seconds to tell you what they're tasting, they're just making up some shit. You know what I mean? They're not fucking tasting anything. They don't know what the fuck they're talking about. They just are wanting to, come off as, the aficionado, Well, like I said before, I've learned a lot with a lot of help from a lot of great people in this community, but I'm not a cigar aficionado. I am a cigar appreciado. I just appreciate cigars, and I appreciate how they make me feel and how they taste and how they go with what I'm drinking. And man, I tell you what, I drink like a lot of like craft pops too, man. Like some sarsaparillas and some really good root beers and some good cream sodas, and a lot of the stuff that's in the glass bottles, that somebody's made with love, really pairs with cigars sometimes really well too, Never, okay, never tasted anything till you bought the Oliva Cigar Advent calendar. Right on. Yeah, and some cigars are like, you know, it. I mean, you can definitely taste, like some floral notes, or you can really taste cinnamon. I mean, I've had cigars that it's like, oh yeah, that's cinnamon or that's nutmeg that I'm tasting in that, for real. But not no weird shit, and I'm sure in the hell ain't getting 16 tasting notes out of one cigar. There you go. I'm going to start describing taste by events such as Christmas morning. Yeah. Yeah. This cigar tastes like pine nuts. No, motherfucker, it's that big ass tree that you're sitting right next to that you're about ready to catch it on fire. You know what I mean? Yeah, some frankincense and myrrh, you know. Yeah, yeah. That cigar, they got the wise man cigar. That's the three wise men cigar. The tastes like frankincense and myrrh, you know. Afterwards, I look up what other people are tasting, and turns out I wasn't full of shit. Well, yeah, I mean, sometimes you can, but I've never tasted more than about 3 or 4 different things on a cigar. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, you like that one, Ryan? Yeah, the three wise men cigar. But yeah, that's definitely funny. So let's just get into just funny shit. Um, I was thinking about some stuff the other day, and sometimes I crack myself up. And I was thinking the other day, now who's had this happen to you before? So I'm a big milk drinker, but I've had this bariatric surgery, where they, stapled my stomach, and I've got this little tiny pouch, and I can't drink a lot of milk. And I'm a cigarette smoker, and a lot of times my throat is just raw because I've smoked so many damn cigarettes at work. And I come home and I want some milk just to kind of cool off my throat and coat my throat. And I was in there, and I just grabbed the jug out of the fucking fridge and just took a big old slug out of it. And my wife was like, I hate it when you do that. You, nobody wants you to, nobody wants your lips on that shit. And I'm just thinking, bitch, your mouth was all over my junk 2 fucking days ago, and you worried about me fucking drinking out of the fucking milk. You know what I mean? Give me a fucking break here. Let's let's cut a brother a little bit of slack on taking a sip of milk. Because you think you're gonna be tasting something fucked up or getting some cooties off of my mouth, But I started laughing, and it's just like, oh my god, she fucking wanted to smack the shit out of me, but I didn't care. I just was, I had to say that to her. Something else I think is funny is like, have you guys ever gone into like a grocery store and look in somebody else's basket and just kind of be like, oh god damn, look what they eat, You'd be seeing some of this funky ass shit that it's like, how can you eat that shit, man? It just cracks me up, some of the stuff that they feed us nowadays, man. Yeah, and I get it. A lot of people just can't afford to eat good. I mean, it costs a lot of damn money to eat healthy. It really does. And it's no wonder we have all the diabetes epidemics and all the diseases and shit that we have, and everybody's so fucking sick. There's all this shit that they're fucking feeding us. But another thing I like to do at the grocery store is I like to go through the express checkout with more than the prescribed amount of items. You know what I mean? Like they got that one lane where it's like, 10 items and shit, so you can do the quick checkout and shit. I like to have my shit all loaded up in there, and I'll be like, hey, 7 packs of Franks, 1 item. You know what I mean? Just load up on it and be fucking pissing motherfuckers off back behind me and shit. What is my favorite cigar right now? Well, to be honest, I really have been smoking a lot of those Definition Aneos. I think that is a excellent cigar. I think it's a good price point. It's a box press, and ever since I started smoking the EP Carrillo box presses, I love a good box press with a V cut, and Definition is just really doing it right, man. In fact, I'm really looking forward. They're introducing 3 new cigars at PCA this weekend, and I can't wait to get my hands on some of those. And but yeah, that Aneo, I've been smoking a ton of those. That's a really, really great cigar. Um, and and dude, I'm still, Marvin. I'm still smoking the shit out of the Dunbarton Sober Mesa Brulee Blues. In fact, every time I get a chance to buy a 5-pack, or sometimes like this gal Cassie out there at the cigar room, she just got a box in, and I was like, hey, can I buy that whole box? She's like, well, yeah. She's like, she's, because of me, she started carrying some Dunbarton shit. She didn't have any, and she's got some red meat lovers in there now, and she's got some Sin Compromisos, and some regular Sober Mesa Brulees, and she's starting to, and they're selling. People are buying them. So I still love my Brulee Blues. I buy as many of those as I can get my hands on. Um, yeah, you like that, did you? Yeah. Uh, yeah, that Noir Cameroon is amazing, and they were really hard to find for a while, Ryan. It was just like, they kind of got hyped up and everybody was buying them and you couldn't find them anywhere. And in fact, one of my locals where I buy a lot of my Definition cigars, they stock them a lot, and I can get uh, my Aneos, and I love their Connecticut's. Man, that Noir Connecticut, it's a great cigar. I mean, I smoke a lot of those too. That's a great breakfast cigar. It's a Connecticut wrapper, but it's a little more medium than mild, and just has a really, really great really great, transition through the thirds. I mean, it just keeps getting better and better. Well, hey, looky who showed up, Mr. Cash. Man, Ron, you'll have to go back and watch the whole stream when you get a chance. Your ears are probably burning because I've been talking you up, brother. Just telling the story about your generosity, and you measuring up those countertops for me, and the great time that we had last week. I mean, dude, I'm still living on a high, from hanging out with you, and that place, dude. I'm going there every freaking time I go down there. When I go down there for work, I'll be hooking up with you. And that's a great place, man. Just so comfortable and relaxing, and man. Well, you said you was going out of town. I didn't know where you were going, but Memphis, huh? Yeah. I haven't been to Memphis in, I don't know, probably been 6 or 7 years. You know, is it still the shithole that it was back then? I mean, everybody talks about Memphis, but man, I went down there and that place was a shithole. I mean, it was fucking filthy, just trash everywhere, fucking homeless people everywhere. I've seen this fucking I've seen this homeless guy that had a mop. He had a fucking mop, and he was just kind of using it like a broom to kind of clean off a fucking spot to lay down with and shit. And then, like, everybody talks about Beale Street, and you go down there, and they got all those great restaurants, and the blues bars and all that shit. And then you go 2 streets over, and motherfuckers are sitting down on the street corner banging heroin and shit. There's a massive, heroin addicts that hang out down in Memphis. Yeah, the Genesis are good. I've got a walking stick in my Lancero box that I haven't smoked it yet either, but it looks like a good Lancero for sure. Oh, I don't know if I want to go back, and we were actually on our way, as one of Brendan and I's wedding anniversaries, and we were on our way to Nashville. And we went to Nashville and stayed, and we took the motorcycle, but we towed it, because we just had too much shit. And we were going to be gone for like 10 days. And a bike trip for 10 days is just too much. And, you got to find a place to do laundry and all that shit. So we just towed the bike. And then when we got a friend of ours that's got a vacation home down in this cool little town in Arkansas called Eureka Springs, Arkansas. And it's a cool little, niche town. And, they got a bunch of cool shops down there and everything. But anyway, we were on our way back to there. So we stopped in Memphis and got the bike out. And we went riding for just, I don't know, maybe an hour. And the streets were so fucked up down there that it kept kept hitting potholes. And shit was like trying to fucking throw me off the road and shit. And we ended up leaving Memphis a night early and went ahead. And so then we went to Little Rock, because I'd never been to Little Rock before. And that's, we were like, well, let's just go there and stay a night and get the hell out of Memphis, because we just hated it, man. Well, there you go. Well, good for you, Marvin. I know you had to cut out and Sunday and go be with the fam. Keep it up, man. You gotta share those times. You gotta do what you gotta do. I mean, that's your kids, that's your wife. Very important part of your life, and good for you. I appreciate you coming, and I'll be in touch. And give me a shout, and I'll help you get that camera shit lined out. We'll get that figured out for you. And then let me know what you think of some of them Dumbartons, man. Rise and grind, everybody. I'm honored to have him in here tonight. Well, I've ridden a lot of bikes, man. In fact, let me do this. I'll show you guys. Let me get, let's see. Let's do this. Oh, let me get on my old Facebook here, and I'll show you some pictures. Kind of my motorcycle anthology photos, albums. Okay. So this was my very first motorcycle I ever had. I was 17 years old. That's a 73 Yamaha RD352 stroker. A buddy of mine's uncle had it in the garage, and the damn thing was in mint fucking shape. So that little fucker would take off like a rocket ship, but boy, it would top out at about 60, and then it would just out of fucking gas, man. So that was my first bike. And then I was still in high school, and I bought this Suzuki. This is a 86 Suzuki GS750T. Brand new. It had 0.6 of a mile on it, and I was riding this to high school every day. And really nice bike. And up here on the instruments, it even had like a shift selector. It would tell you what gear you were in and shit. Rode that for a while, and then I bought my first fucking rocket. This is the 88 Honda CBR 1000 Hurricane. This is the first motorcycle that I ever that I broke 150 with. I broke into the 150 club with this bike, and busted 150 miles an hour on that motherfucker. 6-speed, smooth bike, you know, just a great cruiser. You could ride that some bitch all day long. And then I got this little CB 750 Custom, rode that bike for a while. And then I got this 750 Seika Yamaha from my buddy. It's the first shaft drive bike that I ever had. And it was just an old beater, but I just rode it back and forth to work and shit. And then this was my baby, man. 1990 Kawasaki Ninja ZX10. Now, this bike was a fucking machine, man. I did 167 miles an hour on that fucking bike. And this thing, I could ride it down to the lake. I could do anything with it. You know, it was a fucking wheeling fucking machine and just a smooth running bike. And then me and my son, when he was about 4 years old, for my dad's wife, I built this 77 Harley Sportster. It was 1000 Sportster, and this thing was in pieces, man. Had the frame powder coated. I spent 3 months sanding all the fucking casting marks off of the engine. You know, it was just like, you know, smooth aluminum. Rebuilt the carburetor, rebuilt the motor, rebuilt the transmission. This is the original tank, original paint. And then she didn't want it because it wasn't like a new bike. So I ended up buying it from her, and I kind of switched it over a little bit because I didn't like that peanut tank that was on there. And so I put a 3.2 gallon because, man, I was stopping every 60 miles to get gas, and I was pissing everybody that I was riding with off because I kept having to stop and get gas all the time. And then I had this thing geared just right, me and my wife, and we had a comfy Mustang saddle on there, and this bike would purr down the road 70 miles an hour with both of us on there all freaking day long. So I changed the tank, and then I got the spokes powder coated and did that shit. Great bike. And then I bought this Kawasaki Nomad, and, you know, so we'd be a little bit more comfortable. We were taking a lot more trips and shit. And then I was like, man, this is just plain Jane. I got to make this bike me. So I went through and tricked that motherfucker out, man. So I was the very first one in the country to have a Nomad with a 21-inch front wheel on it. I found a machine shop down in Arizona, and I was like, hey, they cut wheels for cars. And I was like, hey, if I get you a blank, can you cut me a motorcycle wheel? And they were like, yeah, we can do whatever you want. So I put that on there. And then you can kind of see under this paint, it's kind of black speckly. Well, that was the Hydro Dip, and this was all skulls. It was all skulls there, and it was all skulls on the rear fender and all around the outside of the tanks here. And then on the side of the tank here and on the side cover, I had a Hydro Dip carbon fiber. And, you know, these little things on the air breathers lit up at night, and it had lights on it. It had a badass stereo on it. And, so anyway, that's all the bikes that I've had, and I had to quit riding because diabetes gave me permanent optic nerve damage in this right eye. And so, like, all I've got is like fucking peripheral vision in this eye, and everything around this inner side of the ocular cavity. You know how, like, when you like rub your eyes really hard and shit, there's like all these green and red pixels and shit. Well, that's what the inside of this eye looks like all the time. It's just dark and pixelated, and it's all fucked up. And so it was kind of to the point where I'd had a couple of close calls, and it was just like, hey, you know, you've had a good run. You've never gotten a wreck, you know, and, you know, getting to the point where all these fucking people on their phones all the damn time and shit. I had a lot of really close calls, you know. Yeah, that Sportster was great. And, you know, I was teaching my son how to build bikes and shit, and he teaching him about tools. And, you know, I'd get home from work, and And Brandon would be like, "We gonna go down garage and work on the Momo, Daddy? You know, work on the Momo." I'm like, "Yeah, let's go, buddy." Yeah, diabetes ain't no joke, man. I have freaking so I've had this eye got all fucked up, and then diabetes makes your retina grow a bunch of extra blood vessels in it for some reason. So I had to have this PVP laser shit where they go in there and shoot a laser and basically burn out all these extra blood vessels in your eye because they grow on top of the retina and it affects your vision, but they also burst really easy. And I was getting hemorrhages. So I'd like to be at work and then all of a sudden my fucking eye would fill up and go all black and full of blood and I couldn't even fucking see. So I had that laser work done. And then what they did was they did that. And then in the middle of your eye is this thing that's called the vitreous. And it's just a clear gel thing that kind of keeps, the eye from collapsing on itself and stuff. And where they had done all that laser work, it had detached from the retina and rolled up. So it was like in this eye, I had a fucking, it was like I had a Harry Potter Dementor fucking flying around my fucking eye all the time. And I was trying to look through that and I couldn't see out of this eye. So then I had to get a vitrectomy where they basically go in and they suck all that gel out and then they inject a bunch of fluid in there. And then, they got all that shit out of there and it was clear, but then I had this air bubble in there. And, it was weird because, you would think an air bubble would float up. Well, you know how the eye lenses work. They turn everything upside down and then the brain corrects it to make it look, right. So this bubble kept going down and I'm like, what the fuck is up with this bubble dropping on me and shit, And it finally, started breaking into littler bubbles and smaller bubbles. And it finally, just absorbed back into the body. And I can see really great out of this eye now. Thank you, God. Because I thought I was going to be blind. And then my heart started fucking up on me. And I got atrial flutter. My heart would just go in a regular heartbeat. And the top of it just starts spasming. And I was having these crazy panic attacks and all this shit because I thought I was going to die and went to the hospital and they ended up doing an ablation where they go up in through your leg and they go up into your heart and they, the nerve endings, instead of just going and following a path, they're just going and spreading out and fucking the heart up. All these impulses are not going where they're supposed to do. So they have to redirect those paths. So I had that done. I had a ulcer on my foot that I didn't know that I had, and it got infected. I had staph and strep and that, so I had to have surgery on that foot. Almost damn near lost some toes. Yeah, diabetes ain't no joke, man. It'll just flat out fuck you up. If you don't keep it under control. Shit, it's just put me through hell. Just absolutely put me through hell, man. So I have made sure. Well, and that's why I got that surgery. I was like freaking 400 pounds, man. In fact, I probably got some pictures somewhere in here of me being a big fat motherfucker. Let's see. Let's go back. See if I can find something of me when I was really heavy. You wouldn't even believe it, man. I was fucking so fat. Come on. That was right after the surgery. But you wouldn't even recognize me, man. I was so damn big that it was just like fucking. There was a bunch of my records, a bunch of food. I cook a lot of barbecue, y'all. A lot of barbecue. Sorry to make you dizzy going through these damn pictures and shit, but you got to see what I look like before I had that fucking surgery. It was just fucking sick. And I was doing a hard ass job, walking almost 13 fucking miles a day at my job. Doesn't everybody take too many goddamn pictures, man? I mean, it's just, fuck, I got 18 million of them everywhere. And, oh, fuck. There's got to be an easier way to find some of these. Let me see if I can find a, like a fucking, here you go. I mean, this is, look at me. Yeah, I got a bottle of Blanton's for Christmas, but dude, I was almost 400 fucking pounds and diabetes. I mean, I don't even look like the same dude after that surgery, at all. And, hey, thank you, Veron. I'm having a good time. In fact, I'm getting ready to light me up another one. I'm going to smoke one of the, Dumbarton tobacco. This is the Don Derma. So this is a box press. This is a Secreto Cigars exclusives. This is a blend that Steve made for Secreto, and it's a fucking delicious cigar. I bought a whole box of these, and it's got a nice little pigtail on it, and box press. Really smokes really good with a V cut. But I have, and not only that, but dealing with 40 years of being a drug addict and an alcoholic. I mean, my mom basically kicked me out of the house when I was fucking 17 years old because I wouldn't go to her church no more. And fucking, I was just on my own, And so I was in high school in Independence, Missouri. Well, they coined it Methapendence, Missouri, because that's where they started, making crank and crystal and shit like that. So a lot of my friends were doing that shit, but I just got into weed and was like, fucking selling some weed to eat and like put gas in my car and shit. But then I started liking it, and, got into doing mushrooms and shit and went around and, I toured around with the Grateful Dead for a couple summers and hung out with the Rainbow Family and did a bunch of fucking acid and fucking, smoked a bunch of opium and just crazy shit, and, drinking like a fucking fish the whole time. So yeah, I've pounded the shit out of my body, man. And it's just time to stop. In fact, I've recently, just decided that, I'm done drinking. I'm not drinking no more. I can't do it. And I shouldn't be drinking as a diabetic, all that sugar and everything. It just fucks up my system. And then, fucking hangovers, man. God, at 56 years old, you go out and drink a few whiskeys one night, shit. Oh, no shit. Yeah, Touch of Grey was a great album. The thing I loved about the Grateful Dead and what a lot of people love about them is they just jam. You know what I mean? They got like a set list, but I could literally go to 3 different cities on the same fucking tour and listen to 3 completely different concerts because they would just get up there and fucking just jam, and just wing it. And they were playing the songs, but there wasn't a one fucking song that was played exactly like the one the night before, which is what I loved about them. and just good folk music, just a good group of guys, had a lot of fun. But yeah, man, done a ton of drinking. Fuck, one of my other hobbies was I bought a food grade copper fucking moonshine still, and was making mash and cooking off my own moonshine. Here in the state of Missouri, it's legal for you to produce up to 250 gallons of moonshine a year for personal use without buying any permits or any of that kind of shit. So I got into doing that for a while and was making some shit. And the best moonshine that I ever made though was I made this jalapeno moonshine, and the sugar base was agave, and then I cut up a bunch of jalapenos and shit and just threw them in the mash and let them sit there. And I cooked that batch off. It took probably like 19 days to ferment, and then cooked that shit off. It cooked off at 147 proof. And a lot of times when you get moonshine out of it's so fucking hot, and it's just too powerful. You got to let that shit sit for a while. And but anyway, this shit had a great jalapeno flavor to it. It wasn't hot. It was so smooth. And hey, look who showed up. What's up, young one? Glad you're here, brother. Great to see you. And I could drink it right out of still. It was great. But what I was doing with it, I love Bloody Marys. In fact, I call them Bloody Messes. My Bloody Marys had like 13 different ingredients in them and shit. And I was making Bloody Messes with this jalapeno moonshine, and oh my god, dude, the best fucking Bloody Marys I ever had in my life was off of that fucking shit that I cooked up, man. But yeah, and people was always trying to tell me that I was diabetic when I was younger, and I didn't want to listen to that shit. When you're younger and you're like, you don't want to listen to anybody. You're fucking invulnerable. You're bulletproof, and nobody can tell you, that there's something wrong with you, or you don't want to admit that there's something wrong with you. And I just let it go for a long time. And I was over at my buddy Dink's house. That was the guy that I did the video on. I went down and smoked his first cigar with him, gave him some cigars, and his dad was diabetic, and like I said, my nickname used to be Chunky, and his dad was like, "Chunky, you need to come in here and let me check your sugar." And I'm like, "What?" He's like, "Let me just come on in here and I'm just gonna prick your finger and just get your ass in the fucking house." So I went in there and he got his little thing out and checked it. My sugar was almost fucking 700. And he was like, "Dude," he's like, "you lucky you ain't in goddamn coma right now. You need to get your ass a doctor fucking tomorrow. And he's like, "That's some dangerous shit right there." And so I did. I fucking ponied up some fucking dough and went and seen the doctor and had a bunch of blood work done and shit. And they said, "Yeah, dude, you're fucking, onset type 2 diabetic, and you better fucking do something about it quick. Yeah, what is that? What that ketoacidosis? Is that what that is? Yeah, it's just crazy. Yeah, man. In fact, up until recently, I'd never brewed beer before, and I don't know if you've ever heard of this thing. That's called it's called the pinter, and it's this little plastic jug that's like it's like a little mini keg, and you buy this thing from these people, and in fact, I got it for free because I did like a subscription. You know, you buy like 2 of their flavors every month, and they send you this box and they send you this plastic jug, and you sanitize it, and then these bags just have extract in them, and you pour the extract in there and add some water, of course, some good water. It ain't fucking tap water. Put some good water in there and pitch the yeast and close it up, and just let it sit. And it's got an app that'll tell you what the process is, and they'll tell you when it's done and when you can start, cold chilling it and all that shit. And then it's ready to drink, real easy. And actually made some really good beers with it. It was easy as fuck. In fact, I ended up with 2 of them. And, but now I just use those jugs. Like when I have parties and shit, I'll put like tea and lemonade in them and shit and use them as dispensers, Yeah, I mean, it's all, alcohol is merely nothing more than yeast piss. That's all it is. The yeast eats the sugar and pisses out alcohol. That's all it is. In fact, a lot of the mashes that I made for my moonshine, uh, hell, I could drink those just as they were, and they were like, 9%. And I made a mead one time, and then probably the second best moonshine that I ever made was me and a buddy went in together on it because it was so fucking expensive. We got a bunch of orange blossom honey from Florida and made a batch of moonshine out of that. Now that was pretty fucking incredible hooch. Orange blossom moonshine. And it didn't have to flavor it, didn't have to do anything. You always said shit instead of piss. Well, it's liquid, so I call it piss, but same thing. It's just a byproduct of them eating up all the sugar. Guns had a diabetic dog, and mom's a diabetic. Yeah, so you've been around it enough, and I'll tell you what, man, there's not too many fucking Americans that aren't overweight that are not diabetic at this point. The diabetic crisis in this country is just sickening. All that fucking processed fucking foods and fucking corn syrup and shit, that they pump into everything that we eat. Speaking of piss, man, give me just 1 second, guys. I gotta run to the Johnny real quick. I will be right back.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby.
God damn it. We'll play, motherfucker. You remember this from the drive-in when you was a kid? It's nice having a bathroom close. How old are you, Guns? Oh, you had to test the dog? Yeah. Yeah, I've heard of people's dogs being diabetic and shit. Well, man, the bathroom's like 2 steps away from here, so 61, right on. Yeah. So what's your go-to brew? I mean, what kind of beer you like to drink? You like IPAs? You like stouts? What's your favorite beer that you like to drink or cook up? I like the stouts. Love drinking Guinness. Love drinking like Dragon's Milk. Yinglings. Right on. We've got a brewing company here in Kansas City. It's called Boulevard Brewing Company, and they just started out as a little small operation here. They only had like maybe 3 or 4 flavors of beer. They had like a weed, and then they had a stout, and they had an IPA, and then they had this one beer that was called Tank 7, and it was a real hoppy beer, but it was like 7%, and they sell them in 4 packs, and fuck, man, you drink 4 of them, some bitches, and they get you a little snockered. But I always like the darker beers, especially pairing with cigars. To sit there and sip on a dark stout or a oatmeal stout or something like that. Oh yeah, never really drank any of that. The Rainier. Is that more of a like like a gold medium beer, or is that a light? Well, not really familiar with what that is, youngin. Man, I'm telling you, this freaking Don Derma is freaking insane. I mean, such a good smoke. That's a medium full. This one got about 11 tasting notes on it. Yeah. Yeah. 11 notes, you know. You got some dirt, some leather. Got some smoked paprika. Uh, it just tastes goddamn good. That's what it tastes. And the French exhale on that, man, is just really smooth. Really smooth. So is there any cigar companies that you guys are looking forward to what they're going to be bringing out at PCA this week? I have not. I haven't smoked a lot of JC Newman cigars, and I haven't smoked a lot of AJ cigars. In fact, we were just talking about that Sunday on Marvin's show about the AJ stuff. Now I've had like the AJ 20th, That was the first AJ that I ever smoked, and I really like that cigar. I've got a couple of those left in my humidor. But you guys were recommending some AJ cigars that I'm wanting to try to pick up. Yeah, yeah, all 23 flavors. Yep. Probably the only person that could do that would be Forrest Gump, because he drank him about 16 Dr. Peppers. You know, he could tell you what all them motherfuckers were, because he was a fucking idiot savant. You know. Okay. I'll have to hang on a second. Let me get my phone out and my pen. Okay. I'll give that one a try for sure. You know, and that's the other thing I love about everybody is just, you know, cigars that you just haven't had a chance to try or whatever. You know, 9 times out of 10, somebody that smokes recommends it to you. You're gonna like it. You know, because I'm at the point now. You know, I started out just my first cigar was an Ashton Classic. You know, I just the guy at my local humidor was like, "Yeah, you probably want to start off with just some mild cigars and see if you like it or whatever." And worked my way up through to where I can smoke anything now and enjoy it for what it is. You know, right on. Yeah, shit, that's almost here, dude. I mean, God, you know we're over halfway through this month already. Where is this year going? You know? Yeah, yeah, man. Perdomo is, dude. I've really enjoyed a lot of those legacies that they've come out with. And I like that 30th anniversary. I mean, it's a lighter cigar, but fuck, that thing is good. You know, I've smoked a bunch of those, and that 30th anniversary um, Perdomo is decent. But these are good. And I really like that Dunbarton Salida Red too. That's a great cigar. I don't know if any of you guys have had that one. You know, as you know, I'm a big Dunbarton fan. You know, in fact, Steve Saka sent me this hat. He sent me a care package. Because I started doing the Saka series and was talking about how much I love the Brulee Blues and all that stuff, and talk with him on Facebook. And he's a big watch guy, and I'm a big watch guy, and we share watches and shit and whatever. But he's a fan of the channel, and he had his daughter Emily send me this care package, and so it was one 7 4-packs of everything that they just released in 2025 at PCA, and this hat. And he was like, "Man, share this with some people, and smoke it on your podcast and whatever." And shit, I've given most of them away, just to be like, try these. It was like the Umagog and Meat Lovers for Tanga and the Gorilla Gorda, and what was the other one? The Micarita. And yeah, so he sent me like fucking $300 worth of cigars for free, just because he enjoyed my content about his stuff. Pretty cool fucking guy. In fact, I probably got Let's see here. Go my cigar thing here. Yeah, so if you can see this, but this is what he sent me, man. He sent me this hat and 7 fucking packs of fucking cigars. Now, how cool is that, man? You know, didn't have to, you know, we didn't really know each other that well, you know, but he just, you know, appreciates the conversations that we have and you know, appreciates the fact that I really love and promote his stuff because I do love it, you know. There's only a couple of his cigars that I've had that, you know, that I didn't like, you know, and a lot of it was just because they were just too pepper forward for me, you know. Um, but yeah, pretty cool guy. And catch up on the chat here. Right on. Yeah, I do too. I mean, it's just if it's good. Yeah, in fact, that Outlaw video that I shot, I got to go up to Outlaw Cigar when they released the Legacy, and he was up there doing a promotional thing, and got to sit down with him and talk to him about, uh, how Nicholas came up with the blend, and it was kind of a celebration of Nick turning 60. And just got to sit down. He's a big watch guy too, so we was talking watches and shit. And but he's a really great guy, and they and like I said before, they draw test every cigar, and they do it right. You know what I mean? In fact, most of those Perdomos, the champagnes, the 10th anniversary, the 20th, the 30th, the legacies, um, dude, they're the fucking quarter pound of cheese with cigars. You know what I mean? Of cigars, it's like, you can go to any goddamn McDonald's anywhere in this world and have a quarter pounder with cheese, and it tastes the fucking same. Well, same thing with his cigars. They're consistent. They taste the same. They smoke good. They do it right. Yeah, Ryan, me too. So I did smoke a couple of those for Tangas, and it was a little too bitter for me. My go-to on that red meat lovers is I like the ribeye. That's a good Vitola. I think I've had the porterhouses, and I've had the meat stick, and I've had a couple of the other ones, and but I like that porterhouse. It's really good. I know, right? I mean, shit, dude. It's not every day that somebody that actually owns a cigar company and makes really good high end cigars appreciates you enough to send you, fucking $350 worth of cigars, and a cool hat, No, I have not. So what's that one like? Is it a full flavored cigar? I haven't had that one. Yeah, yeah, that porterhouse is the shit, man. Well, and that was one of the ones that I just did with that brisket pairing. I love smoking a red meat lovers after uh, a brisket or some baby back ribs or something. That's a good, really cleans all those flavors off your palate. You can really taste the 19 tasting notes in that cigar after you ate it with some fucking barbecue brisket. you know. But another cigar that I haven't really got into much of the Rocky Patel stuff. It just seems like, God, he's got like 8,000 fucking different varieties of cigars. I've gone into some humidors and they'll have like 26 fucking boxes of different fucking cigars from Rocky Patel. I have had some of their white label. I've had now that Year of the Snake was really good, but that was like a fucking $38 cigar, but that was a really good cigar from Rocky Patel, but I haven't smoked much of their shit other than that. Yeah, and some of the sun-growns, the Perdomo sun-growns are really good, and their Maduros are great, I have not had that one. Not had that one. Let's see, what was the other one I had? I had the Emerald. Smoked one of those, Of course, I bought it because it was green and pretty, Fucking got rapper shock, and just had to have one of those and try it. But it actually was a pretty good cigar. That Emerald's pretty decent. Really? Yeah. Well, and that's the thing, young one, with him. I really feel that he doesn't concentrate on making less cigars better. It's more. And in fact, Cassie out at the cigar room was saying she won't even carry Rocky Patels anymore because there's just too fucking many of them. You know what I mean? And she can't stock them all, and they want her to buy this big fucking allotment and all this shit. And she was just, I'm just not doing it. They just sit there. And she gets a lot of complaints about construction issues and shit like that. I've had a couple diesels, and they're solid for sure. Now, is the diesel, that's an AJ cigar, isn't it? Or is that who makes the diesels? Yeah, so Marvin likes that Prensado a lot, and he sent me a couple of those. We send cigar bombs back and forth to each other all the time, and he sent me a couple of those Prensados, and I really like those. I've got one left in my humidor. I'm just kind of letting it age a little bit. I want to smoke it again, but that's a solid cigar too. Desert Walker. I have not heard of that one either. There are just so many freaking cigars out there. So let me ask you this question. So, like I said, I really try to promote local as much as I can. And like I said, this one gal out there, the vintage. Okay. In fact, I think Cassie's got some of those out there. I'll have to pick one of those up and try it, let you know what I think. But it's like, yeah, you were saying about that. Yeah, that gatekeeper. Got to try one of those too. But building those relationships, it's like, and I'm always taking her cigars. You know what I mean? I've brought her probably 10 different fucking cigars. Try this, try that, try these definitions, try this, this fucking San Joseus, try this, Eneo, try, I've given her a couple opuses and shit and this, that, and another. And I went in there one day and she's like, I got something for you, Sean. And I'm like, oh, well, yeah. And she's like, yeah, you're always giving me all these cigars and shit. And she brought me out a fucking 2020 Opus Dubai and was like, here you go. And I was like, holy fuck, I wanted to get one, but even one of the later ones, but not a fucking 5-year aged one, And she's always like those pledge purples. She only got 2 boxes of them, and I told her to hold the box back for me, but I wanted to smoke one first, so I went in her lounge and busted one of those purples out and smoked it. And I was like, oh, I got to have this. So I bought that box and I bought like 4 more of them, so I can just let that box age and I'll have some to smoke on. But she's, like I went in there the other day and she had some fucking Atabays. She had Atabay Sabioses, which is the little Robusto one. And then she had the Diosis, which is like the Lonsdale, and, it just, she just never ceases to amaze me, the shit that she puts out, and she keeps current with stuff, and she's always got a lot of the new stuff coming out. And like she had that, what was that Crown Heads, B positive or whatever. I don't know if any of you guys have, smoked that cigar, but I was not impressed with it at all. It was, pretty bitter and just didn't smoke well. Well, the Atabays are great. I mean, they're expensive. I think for that little one, she's selling those for like $41, and then the big Diosis is like 44. But it's Costa Rican Puro, just fucking delicious, man. And just, I mean, you can just pick it up and it's just a fucking thing of beauty. They are really, really good. In fact, I tell you what, Ryan, get with me. You can, let me put my, okay. I'll send you one and let you try it. And I got a couple other things I'll send you. And then something else I want to do. There's only 6 of us in here right now. So everybody just type out your first name, and I'm going to put you in the randomizer and do it right here in front of you. And tonight somebody's going to win. I will send you, I'll send you an Opus 20th anniversary, and I'll send you a couple Dunbartons, and I'll throw some other good shit in there. But yeah, everybody type your name out, and let me get them in this randomizer here real quick. And okay, so we got Adam and Ryan. Adam, Ryan, Michael, Preston, and Chris. Okay, is that everybody? Okay, so hang on a second. Let's go to the old randomizer. Got everybody in there. Let's see who is going to be the winner of the Opus Bombski. Michael. All right. Congratulations, Michael. So, Michael, this is my email, fogiestogies@gmail.com. So just get me your information, and I'll get you a goodie bag put together, and I'll send you out a cigar bomb next week. Yeah, dude, of course. You know. Yeah, I haven't had a lot of punches either. You know. Yeah, dude. You know, I that's what this community is all about, man. You know, and I mean, you fucking seen my Humi. I got almost 500 fucking cigars in there. You know, more than I can smoke, and I keep buying them faster than I fucking smoke them. So I give away a lot of cigars, and you've never had an Atabay, I'll fucking brother, I'll send you one. I appreciate your support. I appreciate you supporting the channel, and you know, fuck yeah, yeah. Congratulations, Mike. I got a nice little package going to go out to you. Just email me your address and shit. And like I said, I'll get that packed up next week. Yeah. Yeah. You're welcome. So what's your favorite punch? I haven't smoked any of them, so I'm not familiar with what they have to offer. I don't know what any of their offerings are. Simon, have you ever had any of the punches, man? What do you think about them?
This stick is absolutely decadent.
Right on. I'm looking forward to those. Like I said, I got some of those definition 5 años, number 5 años. I'm really looking forward to trying one of those. They probably out in my mailbox right now, but I just love everything they're doing. Yeah, look at that. And that band just fucking slides right off of that Don Derma. So I've had the Don Derma, which that's the Secreto exclusive, and then I've also had the Dunbarton number 127, which is a Smoke In exclusive, and that's a good cigar. Shit, that's a really good cigar. I've been sitting on the Punch Classic and Knuckle Buster for a while. Haven't tried it yet. Spring roll and egg roll, but the Classic in the single pack sold at Wawa and other convenience stores. Oh, gotcha. Only tried to punch Diablo. Yeah, I guess I'm gonna have to get on that bandwagon and try and give those a shot, because I know Cassie carries the punches, the Cigar Merchant carries the punches, Outlaw's got punches, so I've got access to them here at Locals. Um, But yeah, I try to support locals as much as I can. But so some of your guys' online spots that you like to buy cigars? Who have you bought cigars online from that have decent prices and get stuff to you pretty quick and have the cigars that you can't find in other places? What's the best I've smoked? Man, the best cigar that I've ever smoked, it was a Cuban, and it's the Partagas Serie D #4. Best fucking cigar I ever had in my life. Uh, Most enjoyable, the most flavorful, smooth. And I mean, man, you could take in a big old mouthful and French exhale it, and it was just like, oh my God, it just woke up all your senses, and it smoked perfectly. And I never had another cigar like it, you know. Um, and I've smoked a lot of high end cigars. I've smoked like some Davidoff Royales, and I've smoked some, um, I've smoked some Anabays, and I've smoked some Byrons, and I've smoked, and I smoke a lot of Opus. I'm a huge fucking Opus fan, and I love the shit out of Opus. Um, but yeah, that Partagas Serie D #4, and it's a smaller Vitola. It's probably uh, like a Corona or a Corona Gorda size. Really, really good. Best cigar prices in cigar. Right on. Cigar page. I'll have to check them out. HCL and TRP cigars for limited and hard to find stuff. Okay. Cigar bid. Right on. Well, some of my favorites, and I've found some really, really great cigars on there. There's a place on the East Coast that's called RCE, that's got good cigars. I order a lot of shit from Small Batch. Small Batch has always got bangers, and very reasonably priced, always free shipping. Um, and they do the packaging. They fucking bubble wrap it twice and saran wrap it and put it in a box. I mean, they pack that shit like it's fucking going down with the goddamn Titanic. There is no worries about getting your fucking cigars in perfect fucking shape when you order from them. And yeah, Small Batch. I mean, I've gotten a lot of really good stogies from them. In fact, that Matilde, San Joseus. I don't know if you guys have ever seen that cigar. Let me go grab one. I'll show it to you. It's fucking delicious. Yeah. So this is it. This is the Matilde San Joseus, and I bought a box of these because the first round when they came out with them, they were gone quick. I mean, they sold out in like a day, and then I gave them the deal to give me a freaking email notification when they got some back in. And as soon as they got them back in, I said, fuck it. I bought a whole box of them, and I was so glad I did. That's such a creamy, smooth cigar. Really, complex flavors. And, that one's about 16 tasting notes, tastes like butter. You get a little butter taste. And, in fact, it tastes like butter and Pillsbury croissant. And you know, and then smoke in. Um, Smoke in definitely has got some good stuff. I've gotten some really good Dunbarton shit from them, and I've gotten some other stuff from those guys too. But like I said, I try to buy local as much as possible, and fortunately, that cigar room I keep telling you about, Cassie, it's literally right around the corner from my work. So a lot of times I'll take like a long lunch break and go run over there and grab a stick from her and go sit in her lounge and smoke that for lunch, you know. And like I said, every time I go in there, she's always got something that I'm just like, holy shit, I can't believe that this little shop has this fucking cigar right now, you know. Seven Deadly Toro. But I don't know. What's some cigars that you really have sought after or really would love to try, but you just haven't been able to find them anywhere? For me, I really want to try one of those. Uh, I think it's the La Familia. It's that Padron Fuente collaboration that comes in that big white ass fucking box, and then they're fuck. I think they're like $175 a stick or something. But Padron made some for Fuente, and Fuente made some for Padron. And they come in this big ass fucking humidor box, a big white motherfucker, and they look just delicious. And I'd like to get my hands on one of each of those and just try it and see, you know, if $175 cigar is really worth it, because I've heard a lot of good things about it, you know, from the people that I know that have actually smoked one. Cuban sandwich, huh? Oh, really? Well, that's a little cheaper than I can get them for, but I mean, that'd be something cool to aspire to. I mean, but fuck, man, for two cigars, you could get a really good box of something, or you could get two boxes of just some decent fucking cigars. You know what I mean? That's a lot of damn money. And I haven't, I've had some Davidoffs. I've had that Churchill late hour. I've had, uh, I do like the fucking Davidoff Nicaragua. Now that's a good cigar, real spicy and that's decent. And I bought a couple of that this year's that Chef Special. That's a good cigar too. But I've had some other Davidoff shit, and I was just like, wow, this is fucking so not worth the money. It just didn't taste like anything. You know, if anything, it had like -16 fucking tasting notes to it. It didn't taste like nothing. And it was fucking $30. Pravada, right on. Ezra. Now that's something else I've never heard of. Ezra. Let me write that down. Hold on. Ezra. I'll have to look that up. We having fun tonight, ain't we, gang? I mean, isn't this what this is all about? You know, just fucking chilling out. Ezra Zion, okay. You know, and just bullshitting, having some fun, cracking each other up, you know, talking about cigars, talking about shit besides cigars, you know, um, and getting to know one another and shit, and just, you know, it's you know, cool environment, you know. It's a fucking virtual cigar lounge. You know, we're all just, we could be sitting right next to each other at a fucking lounge saying the same shit we're saying right now, you know. But I appreciate the fact that y'all came into my show, and you know, it means a lot to me, you know, that I had some people show up and hang out with me this long. I mean, fuck, we've been going for over 3 fucking hours now, you know. I'm, you know, well into my second fucking cigar. But you know, and like I said, I just bought a fucking big ass fucking, you know, mobile streaming setup. So I'm gonna start doing some live streams on location from some cigar bars, and I want to take you guys around to some really cool places in Kansas City and show my city off and let you see what it's like around here, and just go fucking sit out in the park some fucking where that's got some cool fucking buildings and architecture and graffiti. Kansas City's got some great fucking buildings that they just hire these fucking street artists to come in and paint, and you got these murals all over the fucking place, and it's pretty amazing. Yeah, man, just about anything Don Carlos is just delicious, you know. Hard to go wrong with any Don Carlos at all, you know. Yeah, you know, just bullshitting, just some good conversation, and, you know, learning some stuff, and, you know, a couple of you guys are getting some good cigar bombs coming your way, and, you know, always like, I don't have no liquor to give nobody. I got rid of all my hooch, and I had some really good bottles of shit, man. Just a ton of good stuff. Had a George T. Stagg, and I had a fucking Russell's Reserve 15-year. That was a delicious bottle. You know, I had some Wellers, I had a Owa, and I had a single barrel pick full proof, and I loved the Jack Daniel's 12-year, man. That fucking is a delicious whiskey. I drank the shit out of that when I could find it. And but just getting too old to drink, man. It's just tearing the shit out of me. What's the most sticks I've smoked in one sitting? Well, 4, you know. Just got with a buddy of mine, and we actually were out fishing and doing some catfishing one night, and just drinking some beer, and just trying to stay up all night. Caught some big ass fucking flatties. I caught this one. Let's see if I got the because I love the flatheads to fry up, man. The flathead catfish has got that belly meat on it that is just, oh my God, it's fucking delectable. Get all that fucking red meat cut out of that shit, and it just fries up in these big old nuggets. Let's see. Yeah, so we fished all night, and I came home with that baby. 28-pound flathead. Caught it on a fucking a bluegill head. But that was that night that we stayed up all night, and I smoked 4 fucking cigars. Trying to remember what I had. I think I started out with an Ashton VSG, and then I had one of the Olmecs, and then I smoked a Padron 1926, and then I finished off with the Fuente Extra Añejo. Yeah, that was a good one, man. Drinking some Buffalo Trace and Coke, right on. Man, I was a Crown and Coke guy forever, and I think hell, that's probably half of what turned me into a diabetic. All the fucking Crown and Cokes that I fucking drank over the years. Yeah, I had some good bottles, man. I had some really, really good fucking bottles. You know, and I got some good fucking tequilas. I had that fucking Michter's 10-year. That's a great fucking bottle. There's that fucking yeah, there's that Russell's 15-year. Had some Stag. I had a handle. Let me get this comment down off here so you can see this. I had a handle of Eagle Rare, and there was my George T. Stag, and this was the Evernorth Hell Diver. That's like a Canadian whiskey, and the Michter's 10, and a Weller Oa, and a Weller Full Proof, and that 15, and the Stag, and a Jack 12. I had some good fucking bottles of whiskey on my shelf, man. But probably one of the best bottles that I ever had is this. So this is, well, you can't see it because it's all green. The green screen's fucking it all up. So it's Evernorth Essence, and that's the Bourbon Junkies from YouTube. That's their private label, and I got a buddy of mine that owns a liquor store up in Indiana, and he did a barrel pick from those Bourbon Junkie guys and got it, but that barrel was so fucking good that those Bourbon Junkie guys kept a third of it back for their own private stash, because he after he picked it and said that it was his, he's like, you guys got to come in here and try this. And they tried it, and they kept a fucking, they kept a bunch of it. In fact, I ended up getting, I bought 5 bottles of it. It was so fucking good. And, just, there's a lot of good whiskeys out there, man, but I'm just done with it, Yeah, they are, man. You can beat them on the head with a hammer all fucking day long. It's like what I do with my catfish is I hang them up, and then I cut their fucking tails off, and I just let them bleed out. Let all that blood get out of their bodies and all that shit, and they just die. And then all that blood's out of there, gets all that blood out of that meat. And but yeah, I've crammed fucking ice picks in their fucking skull. I beat them on the head with fucking hammers, and they're still flopping around and stabbing you with their spines and shit. And yeah, but I love eating them. Now a lot of people don't. They say they don't like catfish. It tastes too fishy, and I'm like, well, you're not cleaning it right. It's like catfish. have a lot of this red meat that's around the skin area. And if you don't trim all that fucking red meat out of there, yeah, it's going to taste greasy and fishy. And, you know, yeah, now that I've had a couple of his. In fact, I just had that 58 that they just came out with. And I've got a couple of those 57s, and then I got just like a regular knuckle sandwich. That's pretty decent cigars. Yeah, I mean, there comes a point in time where you just gotta be like, hey, you know, I've done all I can do, and you know, I got other things that I need to focus on, and you know, and with me, so I had that gastric bypass surgery to lose all that weight to get my diabetes under control. And so, you know, the way they do that shit is you got your stomach and then you got the esophagus that goes up. Well, they come where the esophagus comes down into they call it the duodenum right at the top of the stomach. And they got this scissor stapler thing, and they come in and they cut and staple a little bit off the top of your stomach. So your stomach's sitting there and it's all sealed up and it stays in there. And then your esophagus comes down into that little pouch. And then they go down into your small intestine in the middle of it and they cut that. And then they bring that up and hook that up to that little pouch. And then they take the bottom part of the fucking small intestine and they come over and attach it to where they lifted it up. And it changes your metabolism. Of course, it makes it to where you can't fucking eat. It's kind of a blessing and a curse because I lost all that weight and I got my diabetes under control. But it's like, you know, I can't go into my favorite Mexican restaurant and eat 2 bowls of chips and cheese before I have my enchilada platter and 3 fucking margaritas. You know what I mean? But with that, so it's not going through my stomach. So it doesn't go through stomach acid and everything. Everything I eat goes down into the middle part of my small intestine, and that's where all of the nutrients and everything are absorbed. So when I take a drink of whiskey, I can take a shot of whiskey and I can feel it in about 25 fucking seconds. I mean, it hits me like that. And it's unfiltered alcohol. You know, you drink a whiskey, it goes through your stomach and it gets diluted with stomach acid and goes through a lot more intestine that doesn't absorb. Well, me drinking a shot of whiskey is like you drinking 4 fucking shots of whiskey all at once. That's what it's like. And it's real easy for me to be like happy-go-lucky and I'm drinking and I'm having a good time. And then one more drink and I'm fucking blacked out fucking asshole. You know what I mean? I just black out and turn into this fucking demon, you know? And I don't like that shit. And neither does my fucking wife, you know? She about fucking left me over that shit, you know? And she's been putting up with my addictions and alcoholism for 34 fucking years, you know? And it was just time. It was like, well, you're more important to me than alcohol is. And I need to get my head out of my ass and, you know, start living life again. And so it was pretty easy for me to just say, fuck it, I'm done, you know? Yeah, that's the deal with that, you know? It's pretty crazy, you know? In fact, I could drink 3 beers and be drunk, you know? I could be drunk, especially if it's like something that's like 7% or God forbid, like a 13%. You know, Boulevard's got some of these smokehouse series beers that are like 13 fucking percent alcohol. And fuck, I can drink one of those and I got a hell of a fucking buzz, you know, because it's just the alcohol is just, it's like unfiltered. It just goes right into my fucking system, you know, kind of crazy. But anyway, guys, I'm about done with this. 3.5 hours into this show. It's been a great fucking time. I really appreciate you guys coming and hanging out with me and shit. And we'll do it again next Friday. And you guys get with me, get me those addresses, and I'll get you some good cigars in the mail and everything. And you guys had enjoy your weekend, and be looking for some more good content and some mobile live streams and that kind of stuff. And I'll see you all around. Till next time, peace.
Thanks for watching the Old Fogies Stogies.